hit subscribe. Subscribe to my guy, Uncle D. Tell him Big Bass sent you.
Spurling. I'm an attorney here in Houston, Texas, an advocate for black men, largely because I am a black man. I'm a black father, I have black sons. Hey man, I do what I do.
Welcome to the broadcast. Shout out to everybody in the chat room. Big shout out to Mr. 43TX. Always good to see you here. Thank you so much for the time in which you all have decided to spend with me. I'm trying to, I think I have my, somebody said, hold on a minute. Let me see. Mic check, microphone check. Let me know if you can hear me clearly. Let me know if you can hear me clearly. I can hear you all. Mic check, microphone check. I'm trying to see if I can get this camera up and rolling. All righty. You guys make sure you hit the number 1 button if you can hear me clearly. Okay, what's up? Welcome to the broadcast. Had a little early technical difficulty early on, but we are here. I'd like to thank everybody for being here. My name is Dennis Spurling. Big shout out to Mr. 43TX. I see all you guys in here, and I want to make sure that everybody knows that they are welcome here. Okay, all you people are welcome here. What does that mean? That means that, hey, you know, if you are a big girl, you welcome here. All the big girls. Shout out to all the big girls. You're welcome here. Skinny girls, flat girls with flat booties, bad built, got wide shoulders and a flat booty. You welcome here. I want everybody to know. You're white nationalist. You welcome here. Come on in, black nationalists, Hebrew Israelite, nation, NOI. Everybody's welcome here with me. Okay. All right. And what I promise you is this, I promise you this. Sellouts, you welcome. Raccoons, okay, pro-black, everybody is welcome. Okay. And I hope if I've done my job, before this is all said and done, each and every one of you all will have disagreed with me so vehemently that you will refer to me as sellout, coon. On one hand, somebody else is gonna call me a race baiter. All right. Some people are gonna say I'm fat. Some people are gonna say I'm not FBA. Some of y'all gonna call me a Mexican. That means I've done my job. Okay. That means I've done my job. If you all find yourself screaming, he's a foster child from Haiti or something like that, just making up stuff, screaming at the screen on this very touchy subject, that means I've done my job. That's all I want to do, baby. That's it. I'm just here that means I put that cold truth, that cold, hard truth on you so tough that it made you lash out. And that means I've done what I'm supposed to do. I've given you what you needed. Somebody type, give her what she needs. Give them what they need in the chat room. That's what I've done. Now, seriously speaking, I want to talk to you all about the tragic death of Nolan Xavier Wells. His body was found in the water just off the northwestern tip of Horn Island in Mississippi at approximately 8:45 p.m. His body was discovered by National Park Service rangers after an extensive search. And 2 days earlier, this young man, 18 years old, college football player, had traveled from a private dock in Ocean Springs, in that area, to the remote uninhabited barrier islands with a group of his friends to celebrate the 4th of July. Somebody typed 250 in the chat room. And, well, authorities say that Nolan was last seen near the island at about 3 p.m., but when the group returned to the mainland, he wasn't on the boat. Now, the explanation publicly attributed to his companions is that Nolan chose to remain behind because he expected to return with someone else. Yet, Nolan reportedly remained on the island without his telephone or his keys, which were in the possession of his friends. Now, that sounds odd, okay, but this is what's being said. Now, his mother became alarmed after she received a call from one of those friends, quote unquote, after around about 11 p.m. And this is after attempting to locate Nolan herself. She reported him missing around midnight. Now, search teams were deployed the following day, but Nolan never came home alive. And although the investigators have discussed drowning as a possibility, the official cause and manner of death haven't been publicly established. And this leaves the family with a devastating loss and just some fundamental questions about why their son was separated from his group and deprived of his belongings and left on the island, accessible only by boat. Was he supposed to swim home? I mean, again, we don't know how Nolan Wells died. We don't know whether he accidentally drowned, became impaired, suffered a medical emergency, encountered negligence, or whether he was assaulted or experienced some combination of those circumstances. We don't know whether race or race-related hate was the reason for his death, whether a crime occurred, or whether anybody intentionally abandoned him. Those determinations belong to the evidence, and we should not prosecute these young people through Facebook and convict them through TikTok or transform every unanswered question into proof of murder. Okay? Now, that being the case, uncertainty about this young man's causes of death doesn't require us to ignore the brutal moral facts already in front of us. Nolan went on a trip with people he called friends. Somebody type friends in the chat room. He went on a trip with his friends, not enemies, not people he didn't know, his friends. And one of those people, at least one of them, was regarded as his best friend. Now, all of them came back. Nolan didn't. His telephone and his keys came back, but Nolan's body was found near Horn Island 2 days later. Now, whatever else this story eventually becomes, it's already a story about a friendship that failed miserably. And that's the angle people are overlooking. Everybody wants to go jump straight to the murder mystery and the racial conspiracy or drowning debate or law enforcement cover up. But right now, we have proof of something very simple or simpler in that regard, in many respects, more disturbing. You got an 18-year-old young man left home in the company of people he believed would look out for him. And the outing ended with everyone else making it back home except him. What kind of friendship allows the person you call your friend, perhaps your best friend, to become separated from the group on a remote island while his means of communication and transportation leave without him? Anybody can be your friend while a boat is moving and the music is playing and the alcohol is flowing and the girls are around and the pictures are being taken and everybody's laughing. That's not friendship. That's shared entertainment. See, the party doesn't prove the friendship. The emergency does. You never really know who a person is until that person is under pressure or believes that you need him. Now, that may sound familiar to you all, and for you all who have your chronicles with you, somebody type the Chronicles of Uncle D. For you all who've purchased your books, Rules to Live By, How to Maintain Peace of Mind and Happiness in a Conflicted World, I'm going to go heavy on these books today because this is one of those things. And if you'd like to purchase, I have a few hardback copies left. SpurlingDentist@gmail.com. You can email me, or you could just go to Amazon and pull them down yourself. Just look it up and download it. But again, in this book, because this is something that's very important to me, which is probably why I saw it. And this is more important to me than the quote unquote racial issue that everybody else is chiming in on. That's later. And I come from the position that friendship transcends race. So we just talk about, look, again, we talk about bad friends, in my opinion. That's the first thing that stands out to me. And as I said, you never truly know a person until that person is under pressure, believes that you need them. People reveal themselves when you're injured or intoxicated or frightened or stranded or embarrassed or missing or broke or under investigation or otherwise unable to protect yourself. Where's the lie in that? See, that's when the music stops and the character begins. The person who was your brother 30 minutes ago must now decide whether your life matters more than their inconvenience or punishment or reputation or fear. I learned that lesson early in one of my stories in the books. I talk about a young man named Kevin. He bullied me until I finally caught him and knocked him down and pinned him against the concrete and prepared to strike him with enough anger to do some permanent damage to this boy. I'm in the 4th grade. I was a big boy. I was about 180 pounds in the 4th grade. Now, Kevin was wrong. But by that moment, I was no longer merely defending myself. My friend Ryan grabbed my arm and pulled me away. I was furious with Ryan because in that instant, he denied me the revenge I believe I deserved. But Ryan may have saved me from ruining Kevin's life and ruining my own. I could end up in the juvie. You see, doing life, juvenile life. But that lesson taught me that a real friend doesn't only protect you from other people. Sometimes a real friend protects you from yourself. Shout out to Big J. He takes the keys and removes the bottle and stops the fight. He keeps you out of dangerous water. He calls your parents. Yes, your friend, your real friend will tell on you. Somebody type, tell it. I'm going to tell your mama. Again, because a real friend risks making you angry because your life and future matter more than whether you like them at that moment. Look, later on, when I believe several young men intended to jump me, back in South Central, you're going to hear some hood stories today, okay? Several young men were going to jump me at John Muir Junior High School. My friends, Gamal Bassir, Josue Gazaro, Joe Garza, and my homeboy Jelani Lee, and a few other young men who I had trained with. They didn't merely send encouraging words; they showed up. They made their presence known. So when they stood close enough to ensure that I wouldn't be overwhelmed by those other 3 young men that wanted to jump me. And as I grew older, however, I learned that showing up doesn't always mean coming to fight. Sometimes showing up means stopping the fight. Sometimes it means opening your home. After Hurricane Katrina destroyed the life I had built in Louisiana, a friend of mine, I'm going to call him T-Dog because he's a Q-Dog and his first name starts with a T. Shout out to the Bruhs. He opened up his home to me in Baton Rouge and my wife at the time. And another man from New Orleans, shout out to the NO. I'm going to call him T Hustler because he still people might be looking for him. He used his knowledge and his connections to help me re-enter New Orleans while the city was on lockdown. We literally had National Guards everywhere, but I needed to get to my office and the city was closed because I needed to retrieve my files that was necessary for me to rebuild my law office over here in Texas. These friends, they used what they had, their homes, their access, their knowledge, their time, their influence to help me survive. That's what friends do. Friendship is practical. It asks, what do I possess that can help my friend stay alive or get home or remain free or rebuild his life? My deepest lesson about friendship came from my best friend. His name was Achille Stewart. He was my college roommate. He was like a little brother to me. Best friend. Achille didn't merely enjoy my company. He celebrated my victories without envy. He supported my causes. He drove across the country with me, helped me rediscover joy when depression and divorce and family conflict and professional betrayal had drained it out of me. And it made me feel safe enough to become myself again. When I was exhausted after one of our trips hanging out, Achille drove me all the way back to Lake Charles, Louisiana, while I was a young law clerk and was prepared to take the bus back to Grambling where he was still in school. And now before his death, I was preparing to finance a parking lot cleaning business for him. And I was going to fly out and work beside him on the weekends, cleaning up parking lots, right? And once I recovered my initial investment, and I was going to transfer the whole business to him, okay? Neither of us considered those sacrifices extraordinary. That was simply what brotherhood requires. Friendship wasn't what we called each other. It was what we were willing to do for each other. When Achille disappeared, his mother called me because she hadn't heard from her son. And I immediately called his phone. I contacted his sisters. I gathered information about his last known whereabouts. I began contacting a private investigator. I didn't say he's grown. I didn't assume he would eventually turn up. I didn't wait until the situation became convenient for me. His unexplained absence was enough for me to act because he was my friend. Somebody typed friend in the chat room. Tragically, his body had already been found. He'd been robbed and shot through the heart, taken to an abandoned field, and his killers attempted to burn his remains. After I examined every decision of my own, I wondered whether I should have taken him with me on a trip, or arranged for him to meet me in Miami or done something that might have altered his location that night. And those thoughts, that's not rational. But that's what genuine friendship does after loss. It examines every missed call, every unasked question, every opportunity to intervene. A real friend asks what he could have done before the tragedy. A false friend concentrates only on explaining why nothing was his responsibility afterward. And see, that's why I can't treat the word friend casually in this Nolan Wells case. Somebody type Nolan Wells. See, according to the public described account, these young men didn't happen to encounter Nolan on Horn Island. He traveled with them there. He relied on their boat. He entrusted himself to their company. He allegedly called one of them his best friend. Somebody type best friend in the chat room. And see, to me, those titles carry obligations both consciously and subconsciously. See, a best friend doesn't operate on the assumption when your transportation home is disappearing across open water. Oh, I thought he had another ride. That's not a verified plan. Who was the ride? Did that person agree? Did Nolan possess that person's number? Did Nolan have his telephone or keys, identification, or money, and a reliable way to contact his family? Did somebody physically see him transfer into the care of another responsible group? See, when the location is remote and the consequences of a mistake may be death. And friendship, I say again, friendship requires certainty. And let us be clear about the telephone and the keys. We may ultimately learn that Nolan voluntarily gave those belongings to someone for a completely innocent reason. And we should remain open to that possibility. But a person's phone and keys aren't meaningless objects, are they? They're that person's lifeline. That's their location record, access to transportation, their ability to summon help. And it means their ability to reach out to their own family. If I have my best friend's telephone and keys while he remains on an island accessible only by boat, I don't simply drive home and treat the matter as settled. I know that his ability to rescue himself has been reduced. So I have a heightened responsibility to know exactly where he is, who has assumed responsibility for him, and how he intends to return. The same moral obligation applies to the moment a friend can't be located. A real friend doesn't wait because he fears being grounded or arrested or sued, exposed, or questioned about underage drinking and drugs and reckless boating or a fight or some embarrassing behavior. All of that can be addressed later. Death can't. A friend would rather stand beside you alive while both of you all face the consequences and punishment, okay, than protect himself while your mother searches for your body. See, when the crisis comes, a false friend, somebody type false friend in the chat room, a false friend asks, how do I protect myself? A real friend asks, how do I protect my friend? And see, another thing, friendship also continues after death. If something terrible happens, a friend preserves every message, photograph, video, location record, call log, an original file that they had. He doesn't delete or crop or alter or clean or coordinate or allow his memory to be rewritten by other friends and parents, lawyers, public pressure, social media. He tells the truth, even when the truth makes him appear drunk, careless, selfish, frightened, irresponsible, or wrong. Loyalty doesn't mean protecting yourself from accountability. Loyalty means protecting the truth, because the family of the person who called you their friend shouldn't have to beg strangers and law enforcement and witnesses and internet detectives to learn what happened during the final hours of their child's life. Now, none of that, okay? None of those accusations have been proven to be true, okay? We don't know. We don't know that. There's an investigation that must be determined what happened. We need to know. We need to know what they did when they did it and why. But the absence of proof sufficient to establish a crime doesn't prevent us from stating the moral standard. If you call a person your friend, his life must matter more than the party. If safety, or should I say his safety, has to matter more than your comfort, and his rescue has to matter more than your reputation, and his family's right to truth has to matter more than your desire to avoid consequences. Now, Black boys, Black boys, come to the front of the room. I got 3 of them. They sitting over there over my shoulder. You see that? They big boys now. Black boys of all ages. You must know the difference between social acceptance and personal protection. I know you got white friends. Cool. All right, great. I know you like going to the bonfire. Great, great, great. Fantastic. Being invited on a boat doesn't matter. Doesn't make you their brother. Okay? Being welcomed into their house doesn't make you family. Playing football with them together, drinking together, laughing together, appearing in photographs together, dating one of them cute white girls that went to the college that winked at you. Look, that doesn't make you protected. And look, calling each other bro doesn't establish loyalty. Friendship is proved when you're helpless and protecting you becomes inconvenient. Every invitation is not evidence of love. Every social circle is not a safety network. Every person who enjoys your company can't be trusted with your life. But this lesson can't be reduced to race either. My own life disproves that. I've experienced meaningful relationships across race, religion, culture, nationality, social class, and political beliefs. White dude, John Shaw, white man, Southerner, from Memphis, Tennessee. He recognized my artistic talent. He taught me all I know about the music business. He listened to my reasoning and offered his sincere guidance, even though we disagreed sharply about integration, politics, black leadership, religion, the Nation of Islam, and many of the other groups that I followed way back when and still have great respect for. And I later admitted that. Had I known he was white, I told this man this. He saw one of my bootleg tapes in a local record store when we used to sell tapes, and he went and got it and contacted me. I didn't know the man was white. I later admitted to him, I said, man, if I had known you were a white man, when we first began communicating, my own prejudgment might have prevented that friendship from developing. See, I encountered his mind and character before I saw his color. The standard, therefore, is conduct. A black friend can betray you too. Somebody type black friend in the chat room. And many of the black people out here can tell you about some of their black friends. Ladies, I'm sure you've had some black friends that have betrayed you. A black friend can betray you. A white friend can save your life. Race may affect how people are believed or searched for or treated by institutions, but color alone doesn't establish loyalty or betrayal. So I'm not prepared to call the Nolan Wells case a murder story or a racial killing. I'm not ready to do that. The evidence hadn't earned that conclusion from me. Now, you might find some other podcasters who are willing to say that. I'm not willing to do that. Okay? Somebody type calm down in the chat room. But again, I might not be prepared to call this murder or even foul play, but I am prepared to call it a devastating warning about the danger of mistaking companionship for friendship. Fake friends come in all colors. Nolan went away with people he believed were his friends, including his so-called best friend. And the outing ended up with Nolan dead and everybody else back on the mainland safe and sound at their mama's house. Whatever the autopsy says, whatever the digital records say in the witness statements and the investigation and eventually established, the fact should disturb every parent, every young person in America about who they call friends. See, a real friend makes sure you make it home at night. He or she doesn't leave you behind because of some vague assumption. He doesn't carry away your lifeline without confirming your safety. He doesn't protect the party before protecting you. He doesn't wait until rescue is no longer possible He doesn't become more concerned with his exposure than your survival. And after you're gone, he doesn't make your family fight for the truth. That's the code I learned from my friends. We came together, we account for one another, we protect one another, we tell the truth, and nobody gets left behind. Friendship is not proved by who invites you along. It's proved by who refuses to return home with you or without you. Now, let me point out something to you all. Somebody type calm down in the chat room. You know, the experts and the authorities don't know what happened, but apparently this parallel investigation being conducted by all you millions of people on the internet, social media, y'all have the answers, apparently. I mean, every photograph, screenshot, text message, anonymous post, TikTok video, Facebook comment, Instagram story, deleted accounts, y'all got it figured out, right? Right? So you treating it like another piece of the puzzle. And, you know, and I find it disturbing because people are no longer discussing Nolan's death. They have organized themselves into competing camps, each increasingly convinced that its interpretation is correct. You got one group who believes that Nolan accidentally drowned, and they treat every allegation of foul play as racial hysteria. And then you got another group that believes there are enough inconsistencies to justify continued scrutiny, but remains willing to wait for the evidence. And then you got the third group. They've gone so far beyond legitimate questioning and constructed an elaborate theory in which Nolan returned from Horn Island, attended a pool party, was assaulted and killed and transported back toward the island, placed in the water, and then made subject of a coordinated cover-up involving his so-called friends, parents, attorneys, judges, influential families, and law enforcement, all of them in cahoots. You see, that's what you said. That's what we have. That's what's circulating right now. Now, I'm going to play a couple of videos because I think it's important that we look at some of these videos. And you guys hang tight. We'll look at the videos and talk about them. And we'll examine some of these videos because I feel like very interesting play-by-play. But I'll let a couple play. You guys make sure you let me know that you can hear them clearly by acknowledging that. But in the meantime, let's go ahead and start with this right here.
Platoon, are you ready? Always ready. Hold hands.
Everybody out there. Hebrew is right.
I am a son of a God. I am a son of a God. I got the power of God. I got the power of God. Hey, Nolan Wells. Hey, Nolan Wells. Judah, part of the 12. You're right. Hey, Nolan Wells. Hey, Nolan Wells. Not forget about you. Not forget about you.
I mean, they got a good beat to it. They got a good beat. And I understand what they're doing. They're trying to bring attention to this horrible situation. And it is truly a horrible situation. But, you know, so it's become a national thing. Now, meantime, you got a lot of black people who've been unalived in the same time period. And I don't see any press about that. But, you know, that's another subject.
As a cousin, a first cousin of a victim, in 2020, he went out with his friend and the mother, who was white, and he went missing. He was found dead, deceased, in a field behind her house. She was arrested. She was charged with failing to report a missing child, and contributing to the delinquent of a juvenile. So your story is very familiar. Your pain, I feel it. And I will continue to advocate. I'm an activist, and I go all across the world. But today, I'm here because I stand with you. As a cousin of a victim, I know what you feel when you don't get justice and the system is up against you.
Now, again, it's easy to empathize with this woman because she has a real life situation. But again, the facts are not always in. They're not all in yet on Nolan Wells' case. They are not. We don't know. There hasn't been. We don't have the autopsy report. So there'll be plenty of time to be outraged. But unfortunately, when you get outraged and you come to these conclusions very early on, those things don't get undone. You're still operating from the perception that this thing happened and that this is racial and all these other things you hear. And so this is why in my opinion, I'm not here to exacerbate the problem. And I know people might not like that. You want me to start singing the, screaming the alarm bells and everything, but I'm just not going to do that. Let's keep listening.
It's because it's a black on black crime, like you stated. You mentioned how this happened 2 days before Nolan Wells' case, and we didn't hear anything about it. Well, there's no monetary value on black crime. There's no money to be made on black crime. If there's no money, they gonna act funny. These people are black.
And this is the point that I was just bringing up. You have all these people out. You have literally thousands of black people getting unalived every year, okay? In much more horrible circumstances, okay? And nobody talks about that. But because it's a racial issue, it's eyeballs on it, it's money to be made. Let's keep listening.
Black coffin chasers, but the only time they chase that black coffin is when there's another color hanging over that black coffin. Otherwise, they don't want nothing to do with it. We seen this with the Carmelo Anthony case. Did you see slick back Sharpton or bald headed Ben Crump around that case at all? You didn't see them nowhere near that case. Now all of a sudden somebody from
some harsh words, boy, golly. Let's keep listening.
Ben Crump's office is in that case, but that's because the case is such a high profile case. They can make money, and if they're doing pro bono, maybe they're not getting paid in their pocket, but they sure getting a lot of marketing. They sure getting a lot of interviews on mainstream media. They sure getting a lot of push out on social media. So these are also the things that they chase. It's a sad thing. Yes, black lives do not matter at all. These people don't care about black lives whatsoever. This is why.
Now, again, I understand why Al Sharpton and Attorney Crump are there. They're bringing attention to it. I get that. But again, there's a lot of other black people who are unalive every year, every week, and we don't bring attention to that. And so we don't even know if this young man we don't even know if there was foul play yet because the evidence is not in. I'm not saying there wasn't. I'm saying we don't know, but we do know that there's some bodies laid out with bullet holes in them in various cities across America. But we don't talk about that because it's not the right, the suspected perpetrator is not a cop or a white person, etc. So what it lets you know is the media is playing you. And I want everybody listening to me. They're playing you. They're playing on your racial anxiety and tension. This is how they get eyeballs. Black on black crime doesn't sell news. It doesn't get clicks and views. Not like that. This sensationalism does. So again, recognize you're being played. As long as you know that. Let's keep listening.
Why we see there's 100 boys across the nation that go through this every day. This ain't nothing new, but you're not going to hear nothing about it. There's no money to be made.
Mm-hmm.
In other words, so-called black people in America hates black people until a so-called white person is involved.
Now, I'm not going to go so far as to say that, but I do understand how the media works. Again, black on black crime doesn't sell. Okay, that's why you don't see that happen. But we'll take a look at some more videos. You guys make sure you hit the like, share, and subscribe button.
Found out that Nolan Wells, his family was well-to-do and they stayed around well-to-do white folks in the suburbs. bear with me. First
Okay,
off,
let's see.
black people got to get out of this mindset that living around white folks is better, or your own people. And trust me, I get it. Your own people can be hateful when they seeing you doing well, and the hood isn't the most beautiful place to live. But if we as people invested more, us that's doing well and us that's having things, if we invested in the hood and beautified the hood more, then the hood wouldn't just necessarily be a place we so driven to get away from. But I also understand how the system is set up, that it's designed to keep the hood destitute and broken and looking in shambles. And if
All right, so I'm going to address that particular issue. It's not the fact that there's no money in the quote unquote hood. And when he says hood, he's referring to the black neighborhoods. There are plenty of black communities and black neighborhoods around America where you have well-to-do black people. The problem with living in an impoverished black area is the attitude. It's the degeneracy. It's the anything goes. It's the weed smoking. It's the criminality. It's the lack of self-control. And I'm not saying that that's just germane to poor, impoverished neighborhoods. Nobody wants to get rich and still live in the ghetto. And when the ghetto, I'm talking about poor infrastructure, food, deserts, people who are transient moving in and out. Nobody wants to live there. And again, this situation didn't. See, here's the problem, right? Now we're taking the opportunity to exercise our own grievances. We're saying, oh, the problem is the parents were rich. These black parents were successful, and because they were successful, they moved around white people, and white people, they shouldn't have moved around there. Well, here's the thing: people typically go however far their money can take them. This young man didn't die in the suburbs of white America. That's not where he died in Mississippi. Somebody spelled Mississippi. He died in Mississippi on a barrier island. That's where he died. Nowhere near the suburbs. Okay, that's where he died. He died because his friends left him out there for whatever reason. Right? We don't know yet, but this is what happened in this situation. So this has nothing to do with successful black people. What we're not going to do is use this as an opportunity to vilify successful black people. There have always been successful black people. There always will be successful black people in America. But again, this also goes back to what the rhetoric from the 1920s through the 1970s, and I don't want to go into that, but that's that Marxist rhetoric that, we must always eat the rich because they are oppressing us. And see how they're being punished now. They want to go live around the white people. You can live around white people all you want. You ain't got to go on no boat. You see what I'm saying? You can do whatever you want to do. You go to school with white people. You can do whatever you want to do with anybody. But I can tell you this: more black people get shot and killed around black people than they do white people. Coon, right? Sell out. Yeah. Is that a lie, though? Is that a lie? More black people get killed around black people than they do around white people. Is that a lie? Tell me why I just lied. Huh? Since we so safe in the hood. How many black kids and black boys and black women get shot and killed in the white suburbs every year? I'm just asking. Now, flip the script. How many black babies and grandmas and elderly black women and men and young men get shot in the hood? Let's just talk about it. Where's the lie in that? So again, this is that rhetoric. People are taking this as an opportunity to voice their disagreements about whatever issue they may have with the black community. But I'm gonna let the brother keep speaking.
the rich black people, especially the affluent, wealthy, popular black people, go to investing into the hood, that this system is going to come for them and going to break them.
Why is it the responsibility of successful black people, whatever your metric is, why is it their responsibility to invest in the hood? Why is it that the people who, because many of them are from the hood, so why is it their job to use their resources that they've earned with their own ingenuity to then go back and invest? Why can't they invest in their own family? I mean, why can't they invest in their own peace of mind and happiness? Why can't they invest in their own wealth for their children and grandchildren? I'm just asking. And what do they get in return on that investment? When you say invest, we just supposed to go to the hood and buy a bunch of houses for poor black people? Is that what you're saying? That's the type of, that's going to stop this young black boy, Nolan Wells, from being drowned or murdered or drowned, whatever happened to him? Is that would have stopped this? Is that what you're saying? How about better friends? Better friends would have stopped this, I think. That's just my thoughts. But again, you have people inserting their own agendas into this tragedy. And, you know, it is what it is. And he's not the only one. There's plenty of people doing it. But let's move on to the next video, and we shall continue. I like you guys to make sure, let me know you can hear it.
Nolan's father say Nolan didn't see color. So that means he was taught that in the house. Parents, come out of Alice in Wonderland. This is not Alice in Wonderland. Stop teaching your children not to see color. I'm not saying teach them to be prejudiced or to mistreat people or discriminate, but teaching them not to see color, you are doing them a disservice. You are sending them out in a racist world, and you're doing them a disservice. Stop it. Stop it.
Okay. So here's the thing. It would be silly for you to teach your children not to see color. So they can't tell the difference between a rose and a carnation. You trying to tell them that, you know, there's no difference between a Muslim and a Jewish person. There's no difference between a person from South Africa and a person from Sweden. Of course, you should teach your children to see color. Of course, you should teach them to respect other people's cultures. Of course, you should do that. Now, trying to teach your children that they should just take everybody at face value. If you go to Afghanistan, depending on the different parts of that country you go to, they have cultural differences, and it'd be intelligent of you to know the difference, as opposed to going somewhere like Saudi Arabia or going somewhere like Guam. There's differences. Respect that, okay? But again, to me, this goes back to friendship, okay? Who takes their friend's keys and wallet and takes the last boat back to shore? This is a friendship issue. I wouldn't teach my children don't see color. I guess that's a convenient, it's kind of like putting your head in the sand. Yeah, people are racist, but I've told you guys on many occasions that racism is as part of the national ethos as anything else. And you're going to have that in a multicultural society. We're not going to get away from that, but it's also something, because you're not going to get away from, I liken it to weather. It's not something you can get away from. You can prepare for it. You can anticipate it. You can deal with it, but it's not going anywhere. It's just something you have to deal with. But again, if you want to label it racism, fine, I guess. Maybe he'd have been a better friend to them, or they'd been better friends to him if he was white. But white people do crazy stuff to each other all the time. Black people do crazy stuff to black people all the time. Again, this is about friendship. This is about who's looking out for me, in my humble opinion. But let's move on to the next video. I want to keep this thing pushing. You guys, I'm reading all the chats too. I am reading what you guys are saying in the chat room, because I find, you know, everybody's take very interesting. And I want to acknowledge you all. Let's take a listen to this.
The autopsy was complete. The sheriff made a statement. No foul play was suspected. Now, the family refused to accept that. And what they started uncovering, nobody was ready for. This is part 2. Here's what we know. No fluff, just facts. Now let's get to the facts. Nolan Wells' mother retrieved Nolan's phone, brought back by his friends, and without Nolan himself. Now, his mother started asking questions. She tracked the phone via the app, Life 360. The location showed on land. A family friend helped retrieve it. His father, Elmore, went to get the keys, and when the family opened the phone, messages had been already deleted. That's when they hired attorney Ben Crump. Reverend Al Sharpton joined the case. Colin Kaepernick helped pay for the independent autopsy. Now, Tyler Perry pledged to cover the funeral expenses. Nolan's body was flown to Washington, D.C. A doctor with no ties to Mississippi ran the exam. Results were expected Friday. Crump said flight delays pushed them back. Meanwhile, another name surfaced. Chancery Judge Ashley Cole, her son Warren, was on the boat. Warren also called the U.S. Coast Guard. The judge posted a public statement. The boat allegedly took on water.
I mean, there's going to be a lot of successful people and rich people whose children on that boat. That's kind of what rich people do. Okay. I mean, rich children are exposed to things that other people aren't. So I would expect there's going to be some lawyers and some doctors and their children and some other successful people on the boat. It's not like we hanging out in the basketball court in the Bronx. Okay. You wouldn't expect a whole lot of judges' children to be there. You expect some other kind of people, children, to be there, but not that. So that's expected. But again, we don't know him. None of this confirms that this young man was murdered. None of it confirms that he died of natural causes. We don't know. Somebody type, we don't know in the chat room. We don't know. And we might not ever know because we weren't there. All we can do is wait for the investigation to happen. What else are you going to do about it? I mean, what are you going to do? Let's keep listening.
The Bills pump had an issue. Nolan allegedly chose to stay behind. That is their side, but Ben Crump flagged a contradiction. A girl on the beach allegedly said Nolan told her he was going back with the boys. The boys said the opposite. And Crump described an alleged video, Nolan and someone else, yelling at each other on the boat. Now, the sheriff's office is now asking the public.
Somebody type yelling. Somebody type mystery girl. Somebody type mystery girl. Somebody type yelling on the boat. Let's keep going.
Look for photos and videos of alleged altercations. Part 3, I break down the independent autopsy results and where this case stands right now for the crew.
And see, the problem is when you have people on the internet, they sound so authoritative. I call it Cheney, like Dick Cheney. If you ever used to listen to Dick Cheney speak, he sounds so matter of fact. Like this guy's got to be telling the truth because he sounds like he's got it. Like, yeah, it must be true. Okay, but we don't have any facts. Okay, text messages were deleted. When? Do you have a forensic of the phone? Has there been a forensic phone search? Do we know when the text messages were deleted? Do we have the location ping? And I'm using that term because most of you all don't know that, but they can track your telephone based on the proximity it was to the various telephone, but we don't have any evidence yet. Okay, you got this mystery girl. So you believe the mystery girl who said he was going back with his friends as opposed to his friends, quote unquote. Okay, but my question is, how do you know she was telling the truth? What mindset was she in? Has she been drinking? I mean, did he change his mind? What time was that said? I'm just asking questions. We don't know.
For more, now I shine the spotlight on you, the viewers watching this moment play out in real time. Here's the question I bring forth to the table.
All right, let's move on to the next one. We don't know. We just don't know. And what's the point of getting hysterical and getting your blood pressure up when you don't know? That's my whole point. Now, it's more of the family.
With somebody, went out there, Lake Ray Hubbard, with somebody, but no.
So let me get this playing.
Them family rolled up over there at the judge house where Warren them was and politely went over there and got Nolan keys in his phone. Oh, yeah.
I believe it's my understanding that the judge is actually the stepmother, not the biological mother of that child. Just for you all, I believe that's it. Again, the facts are still out. So this is a stepmother that we're talking about. Just be mindful of that in what I recall. But let's keep listening.
They didn't know the phone had a tracker on it. Because what they thought they was finna do is get rid of everything they can get rid of in that phone and get rid of that phone. But newsflash, it was a tracker on it and mama was on it. Yes, Lord. Let's talk about how the sheriff gonna try to say there's no foul play before the autopsy even came out, thinking it was finna be an open and shut case. Baby Colin, Ben Crump, and Al Sharpton politely got Nolan body up out of there and shipped it to Washington, D.C. so they can do an independent autopsy. Hello. I wonder who the girl was that they called to get the confirmation on where Nolan Keys was. Could it have been Katie? That they don't know. Have you ever seen somebody deactivate their social media page for the safety of their children, but continuously activate that motherfucker back so they can make statements saying that they're being threatened? Let's talk about the statements that the judge keep making online, but she ain't made one statement telling nobody how they brought that boat over to her house and it was cleaned that same night. Let's talk about his friends, Nolan friends that he went out to the island with, how they were so much his friends for years, but they haven't so much as sent condolences or nothing to the family at all, the mothers either. And y'all can quit concerning yourself about their GoFundMe money. His coach donated over $200,000 to go towards his legal fees and also his investigation into the causing of his death. Tyler Perry is paying for his funeral and Colin paid for his independent autopsy. His mother said on Good Morning America that Nolan was known for bringing people together, and she ain't lie. His daddy also said on Good Morning America that Nolan just wanted to make it and be successful and take care of his family. Guess what Nolan doing? Bringing everybody together and taking care of his family, even in the afterlife.
So his value is that he was able to generate fees, GoFundMe, etc., for his parents. I think he has more value than that. Okay. But again, you know, you hear these very compassionate statements, these very conspiratorial statements, but we don't know. We don't have all the facts yet. Now, again, the sheriff or the initial investigator said there's no finding of foul play. Okay, you don't have to believe that, but we still don't have to go forward with the he was murdered or beat to death so early on without the facts. That's all I'm saying, you know, because what you're doing is you're creating a racially hostile environment in the United States of America, and we have a history of having a very hostile racial environment. So you're not helping the situation. But again, let's keep listening, you know, and I'm gonna do my best to educate you all on the facts. And again, one thing we have to be mindful of is this is Mississippi. All right, we do
Since it's such a hot topic right now, my mother happens to be from Mississippi, and she loves her great Magnolia State. And as for me, I hate Mississippi. I hate it. I hate it with a passion. I used to hate going to visit my mom's hometown. I hated everything about it. There was nothing in Mississippi that I liked. And she's from a very small town in Mississippi, one red light type of town. They didn't get their first McDonald's until I was 12 or 13 or something. I can't remember. It was something crazy. But very small town, one school from elementary, middle to high, one school. So very small town. And when I was 14, I believe, when they had their McDonald's and we were leaving, we were on our way out of Mississippi and going back home. And I was with my grandparents. And I wanted something to eat. They didn't. So they parked in the McDonald's parking lot, told me I could go in and get something. So I went in. It was around 3 o'clock. And I walked up to the register and said, can I get a whatever I said? And she was like, we're closed.
So again, this young lady doesn't like Mississippi. So she's going to tell us about the racial encounter she had in Mississippi. Okay. They're closed at 3 o'clock. Okay. And again, are we trying to prove the point that Mississippi is racist, has a racist past? The people are using this, and these videos have got substantial likes and views, right? And so it goes to the confirmation bias. You know, we believe it was racial. We believe his white friends, Nolan Wells' white friends, killed him because he was black. And the fact that they were in Mississippi and Mississippi is racist, and this young woman experienced racism at the McDonald's in Mississippi, further confirms what we believe, that Mississippi is racist, and that's the only reason. That's the only reason. Okay, and I just would have you know there's plenty of black people and white people in Mississippi right now. Shout out to all the people in Mississippi. And they do have a racial past, but they've been living there for hundreds of years. All right. And They go out on boats all the time and people don't come up missing. I'm just saying, just hypothetically. Let's keep listening.
There were so many people in the dining rooms. I was like, is it okay if I get my order before you guys close? No, we're closed. And I was like, okay. Mind you, I'm 14, so I don't know what's going on. I'm just sitting here thinking she doesn't want to take my order because she wants to get off of work. So when she said it the second time, I was like, so then I turned around and I tell you that entire restaurant was staring at me in silence, looking at me like I was a freaking unicorn that just walked in. It was insane. I don't know. It felt weird. So I just decided to get out of there. So as I'm walking out, the person that was behind me that was going to order goes up there and they're like, can I go? And she's like, do you want blah? So she took their order. So I was like, what the hell? So then I walked out and I was like, wow, she just didn't want to take my order as her last order because I'm Black. How rude. No, she wasn't going to take my order, period, because it was 3 p.m. She just was not going to take my order. I was not welcome there. That was my very first really big experience with racism. And can't stay Mississippi for that. I also can't stay Mississippi for the fact that my mom is from Eupora, in the name, Eupora, Mississippi, very small town. The one school from elementary to high school, they only allow 3 Black cheerleaders on their squad at a time to this day. 3 Black cheerleaders at a time. Now, the entire football team, they can have as many Black men as they want, but the cheerleaders, 3 at a time. And it is currently 2026, and that is still a rule of that school. I hate Mississippi. Also, another thing, when I was in my early 20s.
Okay, go ahead, baby. Go ahead.
My mom was trying to purchase a house, and it was on the white side of Eupora, and she tried to purchase this house, all cash payment, above asking, and they said nope. They didn't want to sell to her because she was Black. I hate Mississippi.
Well, I mean, all that. She clearly hates somebody. I hate Mississippi. Clearly, she hates Mississippi. I get it. You know, if this has happened in Massachusetts, people may have been willing to give the benefit of the doubt, but because Mississippi has the reputation that Mississippi has, people are not willing to give Mississippi the benefit of the doubt. I get that. I understand. I hear you. I hear what you're saying. It is what it is. All right. Now, I want to share this video, and we got a couple more.
Xavier Wells, and I'm going on a fishing trip with my friends. Free Chody trip.
Let me introduce you to Ike Pyron, Wyatt Pyron's brother, who is one of the friends that was with Nolan that day. Just read how he speaks about Black people in this message.
I'm going to save this one for a little later on because I have a special segment. Somebody type Negro Whisperer in the chat room. Somebody type Negro Whisperer in the chat room. I'm going to save that one for a little later on. I want to get back to that one a little later. Okay, but in the meantime, y'all check this out. This lady, she's a
Wells tragedy from a perspective that I don't hear anybody else talking about.
Let's hear it, baby.
I normally don't talk about these kind of things, but this baby is so much in my spirit, I can't shake him because something is very much off here.
Okay, what's off?
My child's best friend is missing. My child's best friend is missing. As a mother, I am putting on all my clothes the minute I hear that. I'm going to the mother of that child to see what I can do to assist in the search or the discovery of that child. And 2, I'm going to make sure that I stand by the mother of my child's best friend while she is going through.
Look, I don't know if you know how this goes. That's your child's best friend. Okay. It's not your best friend. And just because your child's best friend is this person doesn't mean you and the mother even get along. That might be somebody that they met through the other parent. You might not even know them. Okay, you understand what I'm saying? I'm just pointing out some things. You can't impugn the fact that the woman didn't run over there to the other woman and sit in her house and console her as guilt. But again, I get what you're saying. I understand this is the issue. Everybody's they're trying to confirm their reasons for determining that the case should be tried, convicted, a murder. It's this is what we do. This is the game we play in the United States. We all love it. We all participate in it. We all participate in it. This is the race game we play. We love it. It's like football or basketball. It's the national pastime. You can't help yourself. What we've been doing for hundreds of years, and we're still doing it. Okay, again, racism is not going anywhere. But could there be any other reason? Could there be any other reason other than race why this young man has died? Could there be? Maybe he just had bad friends, right? That didn't protect him. I mean, you saying the same friend or best friend, they just let him kick the bucket like that or die? I don't know. We don't know. Somebody type "we don't know" in the chat room. We don't know. Okay? We don't know. Now you can speculate because it's the internet. And you know the internet is full of these top-notch sleuths. Let's keep going.
A tragedy. My understanding is that the YT judge, stepmother, in her statement, she put something about her and Christine, Nolan's mom, going to school together. What did that have to do with the price of tea in China?
Okay, so I'm just saying, all right, do you think it's a good idea for this woman who, even if these young boys are not criminally responsible, these were his friends, having them around the mom is going to make them look at her and say, why did y'all leave my baby on this? All that's going to do is create problems and animosity. Why? I mean, again, I get it. I understand. And if any one of my children were subject to this, first of all, I done already cussed my kids out. And I done told them, if you ever go on a goddamn boat in Mississippi, I don't care who you going with. Don't you ever go on. I told them that. First of all, we don't go to Mississippi. I pass through Mississippi. I fly over Mississippi. I used to go to the boat in Mississippi over down there in Biloxi. That's it. Okay, now I might pass through Mississippi. I used to pass through Mississippi to go to Pensacola, but Mississippi is not on my list of vacation spots. They had an offer. They was damn near giving away land in Mississippi. I was like, I don't want it. That is where my family is from. I don't want it. Family said, we're going to visit Tutwiler, Mississippi, right outside of Clarksdale. It's going to be a family reunion. I'm good. I don't go to Mississippi. All right? Look, you hear me what I'm saying? My family left Mississippi back in 1960. What year was that? 1960. Mom was 14. They left Mississippi in 1968. I ain't been back. Okay, I went to see a Jackson football game versus Grambling State University. It's probably like 1993. That was the first and only time I volunteered to go to Mississippi. Okay, and I was still on high alert the whole time. We drove there in the daytime, and we drove back in the daytime. You understand me? Mississippi is not on my list to go. Look, let me talk to y'all. And I don't want to get too far off the subject. Okay, don't go to Mississippi. Don't pass over Mississippi. Mississippi is still Mississippi. And I know it's a Mississippi. People say, hey, man, just go to Alabama. Go to Alabama. You go to Pensacola. That's just like Mississippi. Go to Macomb. Macomb is, don't go. Woodville, Clarksdale, who else? Leave all them places in Mississippi alone. You understand? I evacuated for Hurricane Katrina, went to Woodville, Mississippi, stayed there 2 days. I said, I got to get the hell out of Mississippi. You understand what I'm saying? Stay out of Mississippi. Anyway, this little lady I appreciate her. She's trying, but we're going to move on to the next video. Y'all you don't understand. You don't understand. Now, I want to talk a little bit, and I have some more videos I want to share with you all, but I just want to talk to y'all about the public response, okay? Because I just feel the need, and I purposely have not wanted to talk about this. But, you all have insisted in the comments section. You've asked me to talk about this. And I'm going to give you what you asked for. You don't ask me. I'm not going to tell you what you want to hear. But I do want to talk about the public response to these statements from Nolan's friends and how quickly suspicion has hardened into certainty. Okay, that's what I want to talk about. You got one friend, he reportedly told the viewers to relax. That's the little fella said, y'all need to relax. That's what he said. He said, y'all relax. And y'all didn't like that, did you? Okay, none of y'all like that. Y'all were angry because he told y'all to calm down. That 18-year-old boy told all you grown-ups to calm down, and you didn't like that. All right? You see, he said, relax, and he said nobody wanted to see Nolan's life taken. And those words produced an enormous, shout out to Torian Jones, those words produced an enormous backlash. You had commenters that interpreted relax as dismissive and treated life taken as a possible admission that Nolan was killed rather than drowned. And others argue that the statement sounded scripted. And the lawyer prepared or designed the calm public pressure. Y'all give too much credit to lawyers. That lawyer can't control what these people say. What are you talking about? People can say, well, if we can control what these people say, every judgment will be $1 million judgment. Every judgment will be not guilty or guilty, depends on whose side you on. Again, that's fair criticism of the statement's tone and effectiveness, but it's an awkward phrase. That's not a confession. Okay, and poor public relations isn't proof of murder. These people are 18, 19 years old. A nervous teenager reading from a prepared remark may sound unnatural for many reasons, including grief, fear of harassment, or an inability to communicate effectively under pressure. The statement may have raised legitimate questions, but its wording alone doesn't establish that young man committed some sort of criminal conduct. Now, you all made a big deal about Nolan's Snapchat account being wiped clean. All right? And that phrase has been repeated so often that many people now treat deletion as an established forensic fact. But Nolan's mother was also reported as saying that she found no post, which isn't the same thing as proving that someone intentionally erased the evidence. Snapchat, for you all who may not know, is designed to make the messages in the stories disappear automatically after viewing or after a specified periods. Did y'all know that? Did y'all know that? And then also, this man is out on Horn Island. Have y'all been to rural Mississippi before? Sometimes cell phone service is unavailable. We're not talking about the Bronx, New York. Okay, that's not what we're talking about. We're not talking about Manhattan. We're talking about Horn Island. Okay, and his phone, you on a boat. And they said the boat was in possession. Have you all ever been on a boat before? Do you know what they do with your cell phone and keys when you get on the boat? When you're about to get in the water, what do they give you? What do they do for you? What do they pass around? Have y'all ever been on a boat in Mississippi or anywhere? What do they do? You take your shoes off so you don't slip your big behinds all over the deck, right? You don't know the difference between the starboard side and the bow and the stern. They take your keys, they take your wallet, they put them in a bucket. Or they put them in a lock bag. Did y'all realize that? Have you ever thought that maybe his keys and his cell phone stayed on the boat and he got off the boat and went to walked around Horn Island? Have y'all considered that? Because he knew he was going to be swimming? I'm just saying. I'm just throwing it out there, having experienced some boat rides myself. Okay, I know when I'm sipping, I don't need my keys and my cell phone. Don't give them to me. They're going to be in the ocean. They'll be in the Gulf of America by the time I get out that water. You understand what I'm saying? I'm just saying, had y'all thought about that? Is that, do you want to be walking around the beach, hopping in and out the water with your keys and your cell phone? Maybe it's a better idea to leave your keys and the cell phone on the beach while you get in the water. Then somebody come along and steal them. A seagull might come shit on you, might come poop on your cell phone and your keys. I'm just pointing it out there. Could there be any other reason? Could there be any other reason other than racism? Other than he was hit upside the head and somebody took his keys and cell phone right before they beat him up? Could there be any other reason? I'm just asking questions. I don't know. You all tell me. Y'all have all the answers. Okay, but again, the responsible conclusion isn't that nothing was deleted. Investigators should obtain the account. That's responsible. Let's see what Snapchat has. Okay, All right, we don't know. Somebody type we don't know. Now, what about this fight? There's a circulating fight video or audio or social media. They're using the users initially claimed it captured Nolan arguing with another young man, but the later post asserted that Nolan wasn't involved in that portion of the material, and that it had been altered through artificial intelligence. But y'all went with it. So that alleged debunking is important, but it also illustrates the central problem. Both the accusation and the correction originated online with you people. We don't know, okay? And until the investigators obtain the original file and identify who recorded it and establish the date and the location and determine whether it was edited, nobody should declare victory. Now, what about the pool party? Somebody type pool party in the chat room. You got this pool party photograph, and it's become another central object in the social media prosecution. All you social media prosecutors. Some posts claim that the person visible in the background is Nolan, and the image was posted at approximately 2:53 a.m. on July 5th, and supposedly proving that he returned to the mainland after the boat trip. Others say the photograph came from a broader 2026 collection and may have been taken on an entirely different date. Others say others claim that the original post was deleted, which they interpret as evidence concealment. That's what you all said. And none of these assertions resolve the question. A posting time proves when an image was uploaded, not when it was taken. Y'all know that. A deleted post may reflect evidence destruction and embarrassment, harassment, and account management, or nothing sinister at all. We don't know. And until the original file is recovered, and this metadata photographer, the subject, location, adjacent images, and creation are authenticated, the photograph remains potentially important, but it's not proof that the young man attended the party or died at the residence. You don't know. Now, somebody type mystery girl in the chat room. Mystery girl. Somebody type mystery Misty. Somebody type Misty in the chat room. Because you know it was a Misty or a Becky on Horn Island in the middle of Mississippi. It wasn't no Keisha. Keisha wasn't going to be on Horn Island. She ain't trying to get her hair wet. So we know it's a Misty. Somebody type Misty, Megan, Becky. It was one of them. Mystery girl. Okay? Not trying to be racial. I'm just pointing out obvious things. Okay? This alleged mystery girl has also become a major part of the online narrative. Okay? And some people claim that Nolan voluntarily remained on the Horn Island because he intended to spend time with, quote unquote, a mystery girl. Okay? Or return with another group, and others demand to know her name. Y'all want to know who Misty is? Her name is Misty. Misty or Megan or Becky. That's what her name is. Okay? That's what her name is. Just so you all know, it's not Keisha, Shaquanetta. It's not going to be a LaShonda. It's not, none of those names are going to apply. This is a Misty. The mystery girl's name is Misty or Becky or Katie or could be a Becky Lynn. You understand what I'm saying? But it will not be a Shaquanetta. Okay? It will not be a Latrice. Okay? It's not gonna be anybody like that. Just so you know, so set yourself up for some disappointment. And if you find out he was hanging out with some Beckys and Melissas and some Megans and some Mistys, don't say, oh no, he ain't black enough for us to support. Don't withdraw your support after that. Don't do that, because that means you're shady. That means, oh no, he ain't black no more because he wasn't with a Beccanisha. See, you're wrong for that. You're fickle. Okay? But anyway, there's some legitimate investigative questions if this person exists. But social media has moved from whether there was a girl to treating her existence and identity and conduct and silence as established fact. You ain't even know this was the lie. You don't know. We don't presently know whether this person was even real or whether Nolan spoke to her, or whether she agreed to provide transportation, or whether the story arose from a misunderstanding, a hearsay, or inaccurate explanation given, we don't know. We don't know. Now, again, let's talk about this phone. Talk about Nolan's phone. Proved he returned to the main island. It proved his phone returned to the main island. And that conclusion contains a basic logical defect. A telephone establishes the location of the telephone, not necessarily the location of the owner. If another person's possessed Nolan's phone, its movement could show where the person traveled while revealing nothing but itself about nothing. It doesn't say anything about his physical location. Again, he could have left his phone on the boat like everybody else did. You get on that boat, you don't want your phone falling in the water, so you put it in the little bucket that they give you. Everybody put their little phone in a plastic bag in a bucket along with your socks, okay, and your keys and anything else valuable you have, maybe your wallet, I don't know, right? That's what you do, and then you go play in the water. And then when you finish, you get back to shore, you get your sandals out that bucket, you get your wallet and your keys out the other bucket, and you go on back to shore. So these phone records and this phone location don't tell you where he was. Yes, Nolan's phone came back home. That don't mean Nolan came back to land. Those things aren't interchangeable. Okay? We don't know. We don't know. That means y'all don't know either. Now, here's another thing. Social media, y'all say he got beat up and he was coughing up blood. That's what you all said at the pool party. He was coughing up blood. He suffered serious injuries at the house, and he was prevented from leaving. He was killed during the confrontation. That's some very serious allegations right there, you all. That's very serious. But they haven't been proved. They haven't been publicly supported by any authenticated video or any medical findings. There's no firsthand witnesses to say that. There's no contemporaneous communication. I'm certain that these people have videos. I'm certain that they have cameras at their house. I'm certain that there's cameras at the neighbor's house. Have y'all ever heard a ring? You don't think they would have him getting out of his car or his friend's car? You don't think so? Y'all just gonna jump in there with it. And then it's based on, this is what it's based on. I heard someone at the party saw him coughing up blood. Isn't that the same as a witness giving that's not the same as somebody giving a recorded statement and identifying him. That's not the same. Okay, now again, the investigators should pursue the allegations, but the public can't convert some third, fourth-hand repetition hearsay into eyewitness testimony. You can't do that. Now, another one that I've heard said there was no water in his lungs. That's what you said. This is what you all are saying. This is what y'all asked me to do. Don't be mad at me. I'm telling you, this is what your rumors are saying on the internet. You shouldn't ask me. You thought you was going to get on here and I was going to come co-sign with you all about all this. I'm not doing that. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to use my broadcast to make fill America up with racial turmoil and hostility. And when we already have, I'm not going to do it. That's irresponsible. And that's not what I do on this page. We are grown-ups on this page. We don't deal with rumor. It'd be plenty of time to get mad later. And trust me, y'all will be mad forever once you find out the truth. You can be mad forever. If you find out something heinous happened to this young man, you'll be mad forever. Okay? Hell, some of us are still mad about Crispus Attucks. You understand me? Some of us are mad about Rodney King. That was 30 years ago. There'll be plenty of time for you to be mad. But don't be mad yet. Again, let me point out something, okay? There's no final autopsy or toxicology report yet. Okay? And if there is, they haven't been publicly released. It's my understanding that the young man's body was shipped to Washington, D.C. There was a delay because of a plane delay, right? But people online have also debated whether the independent autopsy occurred on a particular Friday. It was a delay. Whether it was postponed, or whether Ben Crump supposedly refused to release it because he disliked the findings. And those assertions are unsupported. It's just speculation. Autopsy reports take time. Toxicology reports can take 2 or 3 weeks, sometimes months. It takes me months to sometimes get toxicology reports. But the absence of a public report doesn't establish the results that prove that doesn't prove homicide. And it doesn't establish that or prove accidental drowning. We don't know. We don't know. Now, this other one that I find is y'all say, look, they brought the boat back to the lady house and they wiped the boat clean. That's what you all said. The evidence. Somebody typed the evidence in the chat. You claim the boat was wiped clean during the early morning. Suspicious. That's what y'all said. Suspicious. It wasn't preserved. The evidence wasn't preserved. It was moved. It was repaired. It was refueled, or it was used for some unexplained return trip back to the island where they took his body, and that's what you said. And some treat ordinary boat cleaning after exposure to salt water as inherently suspicious. Have y'all ever dealt with a boat before? You just gonna let the boat sit up? Do you know how this goes? Huh? Some of y'all just say it's all fabricated. Again, at present, the publicly circulating posts, they don't establish when the boat was cleaned, who cleaned it, what products were used, and whether cleaning was routine, and whether investigators examined it first, or whether onboard data show a second trip. Cleaning a boat isn't proof of evidence destruction. But if a boat connected to a missing person was thoroughly cleaned at an unusual hour before forensic examination, that fact could be more significant. But again, here, the correct response is to investigate the allegations, not declare the cleaners murderers or dismiss the issue without examination. We don't know. Now, here's my favorite one. Lawyer up. Now, you all who don't know, y'all know I'm a lawyer, right? Been one for a long time. People keep repeating the fact that Nolan and Nolan's friends, right? They lawyered up. Somebody type lawyered up. Y'all act like hiring a lawyer or hiring counsel proves guilt. It doesn't. Retaining a lawyer is the first intelligent step whenever police, investigators, or potential criminal exposure are involved. That's smart. Whether you're innocent or guilty, you protect yourself before you speak. I'm a lawyer. And when I receive a traffic ticket, my first call, once I'm safe and parked, is to call my traffic ticket lawyer. Did you know that? Did you know lawyers have lawyers? Huh? You hear that? That's the first thing I'm going to do. Somebody type lawyer in the chat room. The first thing I do is lawyer up. Okay? That's the very first thing I do is lawyer up for a traffic ticket. I don't represent myself merely because I have a law license. If you use counsel for a traffic ticket, okay, no one should criticize an 18-year-old for hiring counsel or his parents for hiring counsel when he's connected to a nationally publicized unexplained death. You never, ever speak to the police alone. You never sit for an interview without counsel. You never accept a phone call from a police officer saying, "Yeah, I just got a few questions I want to ask you." You never do that. You never walk into a police station believing that innocence will protect you from misspeaking or forgetting a detail or confusing a time or having an ordinary inconsistency portrayed as a deception. Because see, once you make that statement, it will be compared with phone records and videos and digital evidence and other witnesses for years. A lawyer doesn't automatically obstruct an investigation. Counsel preserves evidence, arranges interviews, communicates with investigators, protects constitutional rights, and prevents frightened young people from making avoidable mistakes. Cooperation and legal representation can occur at the same time. That's how intelligent people do things. That's how people who want to hold on to their things and maintain, you hire a lawyer. If you have a bleeding kidney, are you going to go to your neighbor? Are you going to operate it on yourself, or are you going to go to the doctor? Right? If the law is in your face, you call a lawyer. Let me help you out. If the law is in your face, who do you call? You call a lawyer. See how that works? That's simple. I can't get any simpler than that. People have saved themselves from much trouble by simply calling an attorney. Most of us charge by the hour, and we'll be more than happy to deal with that for you. You see? The fact that Nolan's companions have retained an attorney before his body was found proves nothing about what happened. Their parents would have been irresponsible not to obtain counsel once their children became central witnesses in a missing persons investigation involving a boat, a remote island, possible alcohol use, national media attention, and potentially criminal civil liability. Hiring a lawyer isn't a confession. It's common sense. The issue is not who hired a counsel first. The issue is whether their accounts match the physical, digital, medical, and forensic evidence. Y'all got to get out of that. Now, another thing, you all have a problem with the fact that these young people saying they're receiving death threats from you all. To social media, that's suspicious. That these young men, okay, in the wake of all this racial stuff we got going on, you shocked. They must have did it if they receiving death threats. Think about that. But and before their identities were widely publicized, somebody knew. You interpret that claim as a lie because in your view, nobody could be threatened, could threaten unidentified people. But identities circulate privately through schools, athletic teams, family networks, local communities, group chats, social media accounts before they become national news. You see? See how that works? Somebody knew. And the timing of any threat can be investigated through messages, screenshots, account records. And until the evidence is reviewed, neither the reported threats nor the claim that they were fabricated, it should be treated as established. Now, let's go back to the judge. Y'all say the judge is politically correct, his stepmama. Okay, these are very extreme posts. You say the judge is politically connected and the parents and the law enforcement officers and wealthy local families coordinated the concealment of Nolan's death. You don't even know he was murdered yet. You see? Now I get it. You comparing this to some notorious cases where historical cover-ups and you insist that the local status explains the absence of immediate arrest. I get it. It's Mississippi. I get it. Somebody type Mississippi in the chat room. But here's the problem. Identifying an influential parent or step-parent or a public official near the social circle doesn't prove that person controls the investigation. Okay? She could be a county judge. She could be a lower court judge. She could be a traffic ticket judge. You don't know. Y'all just hear judges just assume all powerful. That's what you're doing. That's what you assume. Let me point something out to you. See, a cover-up requires evidence of specific conduct. It requires altered reports, suppressed records, intimidated witnesses, destroyed evidence, false statements, improper communications, or official interference. Social status may justify, some scrutiny, but it doesn't substitute proof. You see? And then here's the last one. You all are saying that Nolan's body was transported from the mainland residence where y'all say the fight happened at the pool and he was throwing up blood and got beat up. And he was taken back to Horn Island, right, to manufacture an appearance of drowning. That allegation will require a complicated chain of physical and digital evidence and a verified mainland sighting. It would require a time of death, transportation of the body, access to the vehicle, unexplained vessel movement, forensic transfer evidence, inconsistent witnesses account. You know we have satellites now. Y'all do know we have satellites. You know we're talking about open navigable waters, right? You know we're talking about maritime, right? You can't run from that. You see? Again, we don't know. We don't know. Now, on the flip side, people are saying, oh, he just obviously drowned. He was drunk and he drowned. You don't know that. We don't have a final toxicology autopsy report. Nothing's been released. People are saying he was a strong swimmer. How could he have drowned? He's an athlete. Y'all act like strong swimmers can't drown. Okay? Again, he's a strong swimmer. But you improperly leap from that general possibility to certainty about what happened in this particular case. Nobody knows. Some people insist that leaving phones and belongings on a boat is completely normal. Boating culture, and that's been my experience. All right, ordinary practices explain certain conduct, but they don't eliminate the need to determine who possessed Nolan's property, why, was it separated from when he didn't return. All of that's true, or none of it's true, and the truth may eventually reveal itself. But the internet finds you don't like we don't know. You that's very difficult for you all to accept, right? So it's doing what the internet does best. That's what you're doing. You're speculating. Now, somebody type now in the chat room. Somebody type now. Right in the mix. Right in the mix, in the thick of this right here that we got going, it's like chickens in a chicken coop. It's stepping in chicken shit and spreading it everywhere. You got a bunch of white people. I'm gonna call them white Negro whisperers. And these are white and non-black commentators who enter into this racially sensitive controversy, and they track the mess across the public conversation, and then they present themselves as courageous truth tellers, standing behind black people. Y'all love it. Somebody type now. Okay? See? In reality, many of them are opportunists who've discovered that black rage and racial suspicion and interracial conflict can be converted to clicks and influence, donations and subscriptions and money. Okay? There's been a lot of that going on. And I won't talk about it because nobody else is going to talk about it. I'm going to talk about it because I don't care about your feelings. I told you. Don't come over here if you want me to play nice. I'm not going to play nice with you. I'm going to let you see some of these people. Let's listen to them. Y'all hit the #1 button and make sure you do what you got to do. Subscribe. Listen to this. Somebody type whisperer in the chat room. Negro whisperers.
What is it going to take? What is it actually going to take for some arrests to be made in this situation? You see this photo right here? Allegedly, this photo was taken at the pool party after they all came back from the island. You know, something that really bothered me with this whole thing was, why was his fucking phone pinging off the island when his mom was trying to ping the phone? Why wasn't it somewhere on the island so he could be found quicker? The reason is because they had the fucking phone. They had the fucking phone the whole time because he was at this fucking pool party. Why allegedly was there no water found in his lungs? Why allegedly did they request dental records? Why allegedly did he have bruises all over his body? Let's get into that fucking part because we got another girl who is
Now, do we know any of this to be true? Do we know any of this to be true? Okay, somebody type white ally in the chat room. Somebody type Negro whisperer in the chat room. Don't type that in the chat room. But again, okay? Is his purpose to investigate or is his purpose to invoke black rage, okay, and interracial conflict and try to get some clicks and views. I'm just asking. You tell me. I don't know.
Party who has written out a witness statement saying she was there and this is what happened. Bro, Nolan didn't get into a fight at the island. I was our other friend, Nolan Wyatt, did get into an altercation right after that, not even 10 minutes later, because Wyatt took his phone. And Wyatt and Evan were trying to be hard, so Nolan was definitely screaming, "Give my fucking phone back, N-word. What's wrong with you?" So they all calm down, and that's when they all head to Evan's house.
Now, sir, you didn't have to say the N-word. We know you. We know you've let it out before. Okay, it's okay. It's okay. You're amongst comrades and friends. Okay, but he said N-word, right? He talking to y'all. He talking to you black people. All you black people, he's talking to you. He's trying to get you. I'm on your side. I'm an ally, right? We're a truth teller. He's another courageous truth teller standing beside black people. That's what we see, right? That's
because he was throwing a pool party. So yeah, No came to the party, and yes, we were all drinking, but Juan and Evan and Morgan and Andrew got really high, and I think they was trying to get Lucy and Natalia to try something as well. But yes, they got into it again at the pool party, which didn't end till almost 1 a.m. I know Evan's mom kicked us out all at once because once they started fighting, it was Andrew and Evan, and Wyatt and Warren was basically recording and laughing, saying, "Get him." And all I could hear was Nolan screaming, "Mom." So yes,
I mean, to hear him talk, it sounded like he was there. He was right there with Misty and Megan, and they saw the whole thing. That's what it sounded like to me. You listen to him, he was right there. He saw it all. That's what it sounds like. Let's let him finish talking.
Tried helping. Then his mom came out screaming, yelling, drunk, because she was drunk, making us leave, saying she was going to cops on us if they didn't leave the house. But they didn't let No leave. And No was by the basketball goal on the inside.
Oh, yeah, brother. What are you going to do when Randy, the macho man savage, cracks down on you, brother? Ooh, Elizabeth, you hightail your bottom back to that state right now.
He sounds like Randy Savage. Somebody type Randy. I'm just saying. Couldn't help myself. Sorry. Serious. Let's get back to serious. But he does sound like Macho Man Randy Savage. Brought me back to the 80s.
Out of the pool when he was leaning over because he was gasping for air and spitting up blood. But I've called No's mom and she knows now. I just got off the phone with her. What exactly is it going to take? We now have a photo of him at the party after the beach incident. Witnesses, multiple witnesses.
We don't have a photo, sir. Randy, we do not have a photo, sir. We don't. Okay, we don't. We have a photo that has appeared online. It's a black boy. Okay, but y'all say, we all look alike. Y'all say that. I mean, I'm not you, okay? But it's a photo online and we don't know when it was taken. We don't know, sir. Okay. All right. Somebody type white whisperer in the chat room. This performance is for black people. Okay. Let's move. He's not the only one. There's more. All right. Somebody type white whisperer in the chat room. He's not the only one. I'm just saying, is this authentic? Is this authentic? These are the questions that you have to ask yourself. Is this authentic? Okay, I don't know. Let's keep going. Let's keep listening.
One doesn't add up as far as why they called the Coast Guard at 11. So what I was thinking was that the party might have ended at 1, and those boys might have left and dipped and then came back. They might have, I don't know. The thing about them not letting Nolan leave, I didn't understand that. I was very confused. Who didn't let Nolan leave? The mom kicked y'all out, but then wouldn't let Nolan leave? Why? That didn't make any sense. I didn't understand that at all. Obviously, the person is not very good at English because you saw the way they were writing. But the Coast Guard called.
Are you that good at English, my friend? I'm just asking. Are you that good at English? Because I'm not sure. Let's keep listening.
Is the thing we need to investigate the most right now. Who called the Coast Guard? I need to talk to that Coast Guard person immediately. Because how the fuck did you forget and then remember?
could have went dumped the body.
You need to talk to the Coast Guard. What about the district attorney? Why do you need to talk to the Coast Guard? Why is this your business? Okay, or are you just channeling what black people are thinking because you want clicks and likes and views? Somebody type white whisperer in the chat room. Come on, somebody type Negro whisperer in the chat room.
Body called the Coast Guard, went back to the party.
I'm just saying, it seems like there's a lot of people who may or may not be sincere in their earnest concern for the truth surrounding Nolan Wells' death, but they have realized that they can make a significant amount of dollars and cents co-signing with black people at this tumultuous time, humbly speaking.
Wells case lies 100% in the cyber forensics of the case. All of the people involved and their family members deleted their social media accounts as soon as it all went down, before they ever even found Nolan's body.
Really?
All of these people involved deleted their social media accounts before they found his body.
Now, how do you know that? I mean, what evidence do you have, sir? All the people? Because my understanding, it was a boatload of people, about 12, 15 people out there on the boat, and there's lots of boats out there. How do you know? How do you know? Okay? Or are you just saying things? Okay? I'm just asking questions, sir, respectfully. All right? And because the last thing I want in my community is a bunch of angry black people who feel embattled and, they feel as though, the world is against them, because that creates a bad climate. Racism runs up black people's blood pressure. And these sort of things, when you exacerbate them and make them worse, it's not helpful to us, sir. And I do appreciate the fact that you seem like you were right there also. You lots of information on this. You got a mind like a steel trap. But again, I don't necessarily know if I can gauge the sincerity of this particular response. We'll let them keep going.
This means that there was a willful cover-up already in play when people were searching for Nolan's body.
Already, huh?
To have a willful cover-up already happening means that there were several parties involved in not only the murder of Nolan Wells, but the cover-up of Nolan Wells' murder. This is 100% evidence that everyone involved are all of the people that did.
100%. Everyone. Sir, you sound so absolute. How can you be sure? I mean, how can you be sure? Because I get it. Black people want white people to validate their opinion. Y'all are saying, see, even one of their own agrees with us, right? Even one of their own agrees. I mean, this is a confession. You treat it like a confession because a white man said it. And this goes against the white people's interests. It proves our point. That's what you're saying. Okay? And they know that. Somebody type running game in the chat room. You remember, Uncle D is from the hood. Okay? I grew up around a lot of street people and hustlers. Okay? I played a lot of dominoes as a youth. And I can recognize people's game a mile away. And, I'm going to let them, I'm going to move on to the next one. We have so many of these white whisperers who basically, these white non-black commenters, they enter into these racially sensitive, controversial topics, and they present themselves as these courageous truth tellers, standing behind black people. In reality, they're just opportunists who've discovered that black rage and racial suspicion and interracial racial conflict can be converted to influence and likes and views, etc. Okay, that's the purpose. Their purpose is not to investigate. Their purpose is not to clarify. Their purpose is not to give a disciplined, responsible view to try to help the public understand. Their purpose is to tell Black audience what they already want to hear. And particularly, in this case, the truth remains uncertain. But they telling you that, yeah, white folk killed this boy. That's what you want to hear. That's the sensationalism of it. I'm just saying. It's what I see.
On his where the phone is on land.
His parents had to go track down his phone from his friends, and people are still saying there was no foul play involved.
GPS the phone, they've used Life 360, and they discovered that, well, the phone is on land.
If they had nothing to...
Well, the phone would be on the land if the boat had the phone in it. and you want them to leave his phone and keys in the boat when they let it? I mean, I'm just saying. If he left his phone and boat in the safety locker, whatever they used to put the boat and the keys away while they went and played on the beach or hopped in the water with it, and he left it there, right? It would probably be something that a person would do and say, oh, well, that's Nolan's phone. We'll take it with us and we'll give it to him when we see him again. Makes sense to me. I mean, I don't know. I'm only asking, is there any other alternative other than this young man was beaten to death by his racist friends who tricked him to come out to Horn Island? Is there any other alternative? I don't know. We don't know. There's not enough evidence to know. But what I do know is there are a lot of people capitalizing on this racial turmoil, and I'm going to throw this ice cold bucket of water on it and calm y'all down. You might not like me for it, okay? Oh, Uncle D sold out. I don't care. I'm going to do it anyway. Calm down.
Then how come they didn't just give his parents his phone? His parents had to go out and seek the phone. They wanted his parents to think that he was still on the island. But how come you didn't tell him that he left his phone on the boat? Did you forget that? Shit isn't adding up. People need to be mad about this. I'm still mad about it, and I'm still not going to stop talking about it.
Are you really
because
mad?
More people.
Are you really mad, Red? I'm just asking. Are you really mad? Or are you feigning that you're mad because you're trying to get an emotional response out of your viewers, specifically Black viewers? Because this is not for white audiences. This is not you. Okay, this is not you. This is not for white audiences. We know who this is for. Okay, we understand what you're trying to do. I peep the game. A lot of my people don't. They're very emotional. We are very passionate people. We are very, very passionate. Okay, we are very, very passionate people. I am not that passionate. I am quite not that passionate. Unless we talking about some chocolate cake. That's I'll get passionate about that, or a piece of pecan pie. But let's keep listening.
People need to hear about it. Nolan Wells was murdered. Say his name.
How you know?
His parents had.
Who you gonna get sued? That's what you're gonna get. You're gonna get sued, sir. You are gonna get sued. That's what's gonna happen.
His parents had to go track down his.
Well, the phone is on land.
His parents had to go track down.
Talk about them people murder somebody and you don't have any proof, sir. I'm just saying, sir. Y'all better be careful. There will be a tomorrow. I just want to point that out to you. There will be a tomorrow. All right. Just be mindful of that.
Black crime, like you stated. You mentioned how this happened 2 days before Nolan.
Now this is the
monetary value on black crime. There's no money to be made on black crime. If there's no money, they gonna act funny. These people are black coffin chasers, but the only time they chase that black coffin is when there's another color hanging over that black coffin.
Now, again, that's the point of view also. And there's a lot of Black people saying it wouldn't be this big of a deal about Nolan Wells, but for the fact that there was, white people involved, or should I say white people around. And, there's a valid point there. Let's keep listening.
out to go out on a boat with a bunch of your friends, where your frontal lobe hasn't developed to the point of knowing that when 4 of you go, 4
he's not white. So I don't know what kind of whisperer he is, but he's also a non-black whisperer. Okay.
of you must return. The utter nightmare they would put us in if 3 of these dudes were black and the one missing was white. We'd have executive orders before we even found his body. You might have had a riot or 2 in Belfast over it.
And that sounds something like something a black person would say, right? So whose language are they mimicking? Whose tone are they mimicking? I mean, they mimic everything else. They stole your rap music, right? You got, they stole, R&B and turned it to K-pop. Why wouldn't they steal your rage language? Huh? Why wouldn't they do that? I'm just saying, and sell it back to you like twerking. They sold twerking back to you. Okay, they sold gang culture back to you and put it in movies and rap songs and made millions of dollars off it. Why wouldn't they sell this back to you? Let's keep listening.
Kids, and then someone else in the comments said that grown-ass man has USA shaved into his chest, which is corny as hell, but it definitely shows that it's the 4th or the 5th, and it's not the 4th. They were elsewhere. I mean, he wouldn't have USA just unless he walks around all the time with USA shaved into his chest. I think that's sort of celebratory.
What if he did? What if this is a picture from earlier that day or the day before, something like that? That we contemplated that, sir? Just respectfully, sir. I'm just saying, Mr. Whisperer. Somebody type whisperer in the chat room.
The other thing is, why does this kid look so scared, man? Like, that dude looks terrified. He's all hugged up.
How do you know it's him? How do you know that that's him? Okay? How do you know? Y'all think we all look alike anyway. How do you know that that's him? To you, I look like him. Okay? You don't know. That picture does not tell me who he is. It doesn't do that, sir. Okay? But again, the conspiracy
behind him, holding him. Like, that looks... Are you... Blink if you're in danger. And the whole...
Blink if you're in danger.
The whole dynamic of this pool scene just looks weird to me, but it's... Sometimes... When you know something happened, you start looking too hard for things. So I try not to do that, but I do think it's weird that a grown man with USA shaved in his chest is in the pool with a bunch of kids. And this kid right beside him looks absolutely terrified.
Everybody just looks terrified, right? Everybody's scared and terrified. They look like they've been drinking. Look like they are having fun, and looks like a pool party to me, sir. That's what it looks like to me. But who am I to mess up the conspiracy theories? Don't want to do that. Let's keep listening.
I'm going on a fishing trip with my friends. Screenshotty trip.
Let me introduce you to Ike Pyron, Wyatt Pyron's brother, who is one of the friends that was with Nolan that day. Just read how he speaks about black people in this message. He said...
Now, I saved this one from earlier. Now, again, we got a white whisperer, and she's proving black people's confirmation bias that all of his friends were racist. Okay, again, all of this may be true. None of it may be true. I don't know. But the fact that you have white folks getting clicks and views, gassing black people up, isn't that suspicious? Black people, just put your thinking hat on. Let's just put your thinking hats on. I mean, the fact that you're helping folk make money, gas you up, right? Does it sound familiar? Right? I'm here to help. Okay? Somebody type sell out in the chat room. Uncle D done sold us out because he's pointing out that the white people are taking advantage of us by selling our rage back to us. Come on now. Let's type boule in the chat room. I need all that. Come on now. Don't run from it. Come on now. Give it to me. You mad because I'm pointing out the obvious. Don't you think this is suspicious? Does this just throw up your radar a little bit? I'm going to let her finish. Go ahead.
Said worthless blacks. Oh, but it's not racially motivated? Let's see what Warren's mommy's up to then. She's got a flag in the background. That might be dinging some alarms in your head, doesn't it? Yeah.
What's the flag?
That would be the old Mississippi flag. Well, you know what's interesting? They haven't used the Confederate flag for Mississippi since 2020. So a new flag dropped 6 years ago, and you...
Are you saying because the judge took a photograph 6 years ago with the official Mississippi flag, that's suspicious? Well, it was the official Mississippi flag at the time. Maybe she hadn't. Is there another explanation? Maybe she hadn't updated the photograph. I don't know. I'm just saying. Again, didn't you say, somebody told me that Nolan's mom was friends with this lady? I'm just asking questions. I'm just here to ask questions. You all tell me, right? But you got some of the spearhead people on the racial conspiracy, this racial killers, white people leading the charge. Oh, this is racial. These white boys killed that black boy. This is leading the charge, right? And nothing black people like more than having white people get out there and do our work for us when it comes to protecting us. We love it when white people get out there, get on the front line. So we sitting back, yeah, see, white people validated. I'm just pointing it out. You don't have to like what I'm saying. Look at the video for yourself. Keep looking.
A white woman judge decide to keep the old one with the Confederate flag in it? And again, no emergency calls made, no locals asked for help. Sheriffs are now questioning people and pressing for answers, looking for leads when they said it was originally no foul play because we are talking about this. And as soon as we turn away from this shit and say that it's not happening to people, it will happen time and time again. And that is why we keep talking about it. And this has made it all the way to Colin Kaepernick, who has offered to pay for the family.
All the way to Colin Kaepernick. What do you mean? Is Colin Kaepernick, is he on the moon or something like that? I'm sure he's around. He's on the internet too.
Independent autopsy of Nolan.
Why did they go through so much stress and forget the guy's phone and delete all of those pictures and all of those text messages from his phone? Why?
All right. Again, we don't know if any of this is true. This is all speculation. But to me, it's mighty suspicious. Okay. It's mighty suspicious that you have all these people, these white folk who are out here leading the charge and basically regurgitating.
Posted this picture at 3:47 p.m. with the pool picture. And then this pool picture was removed from his Instagram post. You can see in threads here he added. Now, I had one of my London viewers who pointed out that her time, 1947, is actually 3:47 p.m. on July 5th, Sunday, in Mississippi. And here's the question. Now, Evan Knoll is a kicker in football for the Florida Gators. So this thing, it's just getting so crazy. And my question is, and I'm not accusing.
Now we're gonna bring the Gators in. We're gonna bring the Florida Gators in. SEC will not have a season this year if they keep it up. All right, let's keep listening. Let's keep listening.
Anybody of anything. This is allegedly, but why did he remove?
Allegedly is not gonna save you, sir. Allegedly is not gonna save you. Somebody's gonna sue y'all.
The pool picture from his carousel picture. Now, people have said online that he was beaten and he was bloody. You can see the basketball net that they were talking about in the back of this photo. But again, we need to find out, why did he remove this picture? It's very suspect. Secret Service Sam Al Sampson.
According to you, Secret Service Sam. According to Secret Service Sam, it's suspect. Okay. So again, all right, again. I know you all want me to get you gassed up, but I'm not going to do it. And as I said earlier, okay, right in the mix of all of this case, whether we're talking about Carmelo Anthony or whatever, Trayvon Martin, but it's becoming a business, okay? Becoming a business. You got a lot of these white commentators. They jump into these racially hostile, controversial conversations that are going down on the internet, and they interject themselves and they come off like they're white allies and they're being courageous, truth-speaking friends of black people, right? They're here to stand beside us. And the truth is they're opportunists. who've discovered that Black anger and angst and rage and racial suspicion that dates back hundreds of years will generate money for them in the form of donations, clicks, influence, likes, shares, subscriptions. Again, their job, they're not here to try to find the truth or clarify or present an accurate representation to the public. Their whole point is to tell Black audience what we need to hear right now, okay? What we want to hear right now, what we desire to hear, okay? Especially that the truth is uncertain. Again, in the Nolan Wells case, you got these white, and I call them white whisperers, okay, but really they're just opportunists. They're declaring this young boy was beaten and murdered and thrown into the water and betrayed by his white friends, his rich white friends, by the way, okay? He's been denied justice. There's a coordinated white law enforcement cover-up. White people are saying this, okay? And again, those are serious factual accusations, and yet publicly available evidence hadn't established any of that. The intellectually responsible position is neither denying these accusations, okay, or supporting them, right? It's disciplined uncertainty, but disciplined uncertainty performs poorly online. We don't know yet what I'm doing. It doesn't generate emotional reactions produced by they killed that Black boy, okay? That's not gonna get you clicks and likes. And they kill that Black boy and the entire town is covering up, it's gonna get you clicks and likes, because controversy attracts attention. Fear keeps people watching, and anger produces comments and shares. Racial tension creates repeat customers. See? And in the modern attention economy, certainty is more profitable than caution, and racial certainty is among the most marketable products available. The evidence confirms that sensational or sensationalizing, or it isn't merely an accusation against modern media, it's a measurable business strategy. Researchers have analyzed approximately 105,000 headline variations, 370 million impressions, and 5.7 million clicks, found that adding just one negative word to an average length headline increased its clicks by a rate of about 2.3%. You see? While adding a positive word reduced it by 1%. And the facts of the underlying story didn't have to change. Think about that. If I add a negative word, I get more likes. If I add a positive word, I lose likes. So merely making a headline sound darker or more dirty, shout out to Old Wise One, made more people hit the like button, click the button. You know, the sharing economy is even more rewarding to outrage merchants, which is what these people are. A proceedings of the National Academy of Science study found that every additional moral, emotional word increased the spread of social media messages by approximately 20%. There's another PNAS study found that each reference to a political outgroup increased the odds that a post would be shared 67%. And the outgroup effect was substantially stronger than ordinary negative or emotional language. In plain English, what that means is attacking them, the other race, the other political party, the other community, or the other tribe is excellent for engagement. You understand what I'm saying? And see, false information, shout out to Stanley Cabinet. False information also possesses a competitive advantage. A major science study found that false stories, a lie, reach 1,500 people approximately 6 times faster than the truth. Because human beings, you know, they like to spread them. Okay. More recent research found that information tends to provoke more outrage, and that outrage increases the likelihood that people will share material, sometimes without first reading it and carefully enough to, they not even going to evaluate. They just share it because they like it. They like it. It makes them angry, makes them outraged, makes them whatever. And so the person who comes online and says, we don't know how Nolan Wells died, like I'm doing right now, let's wait for the autopsy and the digital evidence and the complete timeline, that person's operating in a commercial at disadvantage. The person who announces his white friends murdered him and dumped him in the water in Mississippi and the police have covered it up, right? That person has supplied the algorithm with everything it rewards: fear, racial conflict, moral outrage, identifiable villains, rich white boys. Somebody type rich white boys in the chat room. Rich white boys are always the villain in every movie. It gives you absolute certainty. You see, and it gives you a villain, right? And evidence may be absent, but the product is emotionally complete. And that's how black pain becomes profitable to these white Negro whisperers. Now, again, the commercial strategy is not new. Y'all know that. Because for years you had black conservative personalities, black MAGA whisperers, right? Talking to white people. They got rich telling white people what many of these viewers wanted to hear. Racism is largely imaginary. They said that. Black people are solely responsible for every condition within the black community. They liked slavery, right? Civil rights complaints are just excuses. Black people got rich. White America bears no responsibility for the continuing oppression of black people. I'm telling the truth. You got people like Candace Owens and Myron Gaines and Officer Tatum. They could deliver criticisms of black people all day, right? And the thing is, they can do them, and then the white speakers couldn't do it. They couldn't deliver it effectively at that time, okay? Because the black people, their blackness became rhetorical insurance. In other words, a black person said it, so it can't be racist. Y'all know what I'm saying. And you all recognize it for the game it was. So the messenger's identity became part of the merchandise. The audience wasn't purchasing an audience or an argument. It was purchasing racial validation. And see, that's what you all are dealing with right now with this Nolan Wells case and these white folk getting on the internet, co-signing with you. You're purchasing racial validation. And the message, and back then with the black conservative types, the message appeared more credible because it came from someone believed to possess insider authority over the people being criticized. You see? Because you got these black surrogates who legitimize the frustration of these of white grievances while protecting the frustrated white audience from the accusation that those grievances were racially motivated. And that's largely why you have a lot of black Americans who said, nah, we're going to delineate because we don't like people like Myron Gaines speaking on our behalf. He's not even foundational black American. And that's what you've done. You see that happening all the time. Or he has a white wife, and so he can't speak on behalf of us, or he or she is of Haitian descent. That's why you see somebody type delineation in the chat room. But now, again, now what you're witnessing is the reverse arrangement. You have white commentators who discovered that they can profit by becoming racial interpreters for black audiences. They position themselves as white insiders, exposing the supposed secrets of white society. And their black viewers are encouraged to think he's white, so he knows what white people are really planning. And even if he admits it, if he admits it, it must be true. The identity of the speaker becomes a substitute for evidence because the white man said it. And that's the essence of the white Negro whisperers. He understands that his whiteness can give additional weight and credibility to allegations against white people. He doesn't need access to the autopsy report. He or she. They don't need the police files. They don't need any witness interviews. They don't need any phone records or forensic evidence. All they need is to sound confident while validating the audience's existing fears, and his racial identity or her racial identity creates the appearance of an insider confession, even when he or she doesn't possess any more information than the rest of y'all watching it on the internet. You understand? It's the same racial surrogacy business model operating in the opposite direction. The black right-wing commentators were used to condemn black people before white audiences. And you got the white alarmists now condemning white people before black audiences. And the politics appear different, but the commercial structure is identical. In both cases, the speaker's race is used as a certificate of authenticity. In both cases, the audience is flattered rather than challenged. Okay, and in both cases, grievance is transforming into influence, and influence is transformed into money. Okay, and what makes this especially dangerous is that these creators are exploiting legitimate black historical memory. Black distrust of law enforcement didn't arise from imagination. Okay, black families have been deceived. Evidence has been concealed before. Officials have protected powerful people. And again, this is Mississippi where this happened. Mississippi has a history. It gives black citizens every reason to demand transparency and preservation of evidence and independent review. But that history should make us, it should make us more rigorous, not more gullible. You see the difference? A community that has truly been lied to in the past can't afford to believe every new allegation merely because it resembles an earlier injustice. Look, man, racism, I'm not one of these people that's going to get on here and lie to you. Racism exists in America. It always has, and it always will in some form. You understand? You can't brainwash it out of people. It's going to be there. It's like weather. It's like weather. Something a mature society you just gonna have to recognize. You got to prepare for it. You can reduce the effects of it. Okay? You can confront it when the evidence shows it's present. But hell, every cloud isn't a tornado, and every unexplained tragedy isn't automatically some racial conspiracy. A legitimate warning can save lives. Constant false alarms. Everything is racism. This is racism. That's racist. Every false alarm eventually destroys credibility and make the public less responsive when real emergencies pop up. And see, that's why racial escalation without evidence is so irresponsible. America is a multiracial country with an extremely violent racial history. So recklessly declaring that white teenagers murdered their black teenage friend and the white police officers join in on a conspiracy and the whole damn entire community is protecting white killers can endanger innocent people and contaminate witnesses, intensify racial hostility, and undermine a legitimate investigation. Look, family, attaching the phrase justice for Nolan to an accusation doesn't make the accusation responsible or true. And black folk need to learn when people are running game on your pockets. Every person speaking the language of solidarity isn't serving black interests. Some sell fear and resentment and suspicion because outrage brings clicks, subscriptions, donations, influence, and money. This won't be the first time white people played race beta and pushed black people toward action that benefited. They benefited from that respect. Won't be the first time. They benefited. It didn't leave us anything. I learned that in the streets of LA. When I'm 12 years old, I'm out there on the curb shooting dice in South Central LA. I learned to watch the money and study the players. Never turn my back to the street. I recognize that in the game. I was shooting craps with this dude from 60s. His name is Fat Cat. I'm 12 years old. You understand? He didn't care about friendship or fairness. He wanted to dig in my pockets. And he forced me to keep the game going until I was broke. And this is what hustlers do. They make their objective look like your opportunity. That's what they do. And when we've seen this same hustle in cinema, we see it in the movies, we see it in politics, we see it in the Democrat Party. Black pain promoted, black anger mobilized, black loyalty demanded, while others collect the profit, the position, and the power all day, every day. To this day, we're encouraged to react first and ask later who benefited. You understand? This is what I'm trying to get y'all the game, baby. Now, let me say this. After all these live streams, all this is over. You understand? I want you to listen. The advertising revenue clears and the content creators move to the next tragedy. Black and white Americans are still going to have to live in the same country together. Our children are going to have to attend school together and play on the same teams and against each other. And we as Americans are going to have to work in the same buildings, ride in the same vehicles, public transportation, whatever. We're going to have to use the same highways and streets. Y'all are going to have to park in the same Walmart parking lot. And y'all know how dangerous that is. We're going to have to depend on each other for emergencies. And the people who monetize this racial conflict won't be present to repair the mistrust they help manufacture. Even a complete debunking won't remove the damage and the continued influence of this misinformation. And it's going to continue shaping people's reasons after it has been corrected. Even I don't know what's going to happen. But see, what you need to understand is repetition creates an illusory truth. What that means is the claim begins to feel more believable solely because it's been encountered repeatedly. You see the same thing over and over again, constantly. Even if the investigation ultimately establishes that Nolan drowned accidentally and there was no racial violence or criminal conspiracy occurred, you're going to still have people who are permanently going to retain the first emotional version that the black boy was murdered by his white friends. You see, and black parents are going to become reluctant to allow their children to socialize or travel with white folk or go to their schools or whatever. White parents are going to start viewing black people with scrutiny as proof that their children can be publicly branded as racists and murderers before an investigation is complete. There was a national study of television coverage that found that 69% of black-focused news stories concern crime, compared with only 28% of white-focused stories. And experimental research on local television news has also found that racialized crime coverage can activate stereotypes and influence attitudes about crime, punishment, and race. What you're seeing all the time influences your perception of race. You might not have ever experienced it. Again, that doesn't mean viewers, automatically believe everything they see. It means repeated associations teach audiences which faces, which communities and neighborhoods should feel dangerous. And see, once danger becomes attached to racial identity, it affects geography and economics. People decide where to live, which schools are good, which streets to avoid, where to shop, which restaurants deserve a visit, and where they feel comfortable after dark. They describe whose choices as being about, they describe those decisions about safety and culture and property values or school quality based on race. You see? So race can become silently embedded inside of each of those terms. There was another study, a PNAS field experiment found that identically classified advertisements associated with disadvantaged neighborhoods received only 83.9% as many responses as advertisements associated with advantaged neighborhoods. That's a 16% penalty based on race. You see? The merchandise didn't change. The only thing that changed was the seller's neighborhood. You see? Same thing with housing research. This is people in the, it's black people, it's people of non-black descent that think every black person in America lives in the ghetto. Because that's what they associate with black people. I'm just saying. You got housing research that shows the financial scale of that stigma. After accounting for differences in housing quality and neighborhood, Brookings estimated that comparable houses in majority black neighborhoods were worth 23% less. That's damn near 1/4 less, right, than white houses, based on these racial perceptions. This is what happens when you see stuff over and over again. You see? School selection can reproduce the same pattern. In one study, white parents rated a hypothetical majority white school most favorably, followed by an integrated school, and then a majority Latino, and then a majority black school, dead last, even when the researchers supplied other information about the schools. And this is how racialized perceptions can influence enrollment, residential demand, property values, school funding, and eventually the social networks available to your children. Again, no single video about Nolan Wells is going to independently determine these national housing prices and school enrollment or restaurant revenue. Okay? The point is cumulative. Racial propaganda adds another layer to an already existing system of stereotypes about who's dangerous and which friendships are trustworthy and which communities should be avoided. Now, there's going to be a legal aftermath. Because let me tell you something, calling people murderers and conspirators and evidence destroyers before people continue, look, before y'all continue accusing Nolan Wells' friends or companions of being racist and murderers and conspirators and participants in homicide and cover up, I want y'all to remember this case. You guys know who Nicholas Sandman is? Nicholas Sandman in the Covington Catholic case. On January 2019, Sandman was a 16-year-old high school student visiting Washington, D.C. Y'all remember that? He was with his classmates for what was called a March for Life. And there was a short video that showed him wearing a MAGA hat and standing face to face with Nathan Phillips. Y'all remember that case? Well, Nathan Phillips was a Native American activist who was attending the Indigenous Peoples March. And within hours, Sandman and his classmates were branded across television and social media as racist, a racist white mob that has surrounded and mocked that and harassed the Native American elder. And the country rushed to judgment. Somebody type rush to judgment. Somebody type lawsuit. They rushed to judgment before reviewing the complete video footage. Okay, because there was longer recordings later showed that members of the Black Hebrew Israelites had been shouting insults at the students before Phillips approached and the group while beating their drum. And a private investigation commissioned by the school diocese reviewed the video and evidence and interviewed the students and the chaperones. Okay, the investigators found no evidence that the students shouted racist statements at Phillips and no evidence supporting the widely repeated claim that they said, build that wall. And guess what happened? Number one, Salmon and his family was subject to national condemnation. They got death threats, they got ridicules, they got permanent damage to his name. And the people spreading the story weren't merely saying they disliked his expression of political hat. They were asserting a racial narrative as fact before the evidence had been thoroughly examined. And by the time the corrections and longer footage emerged, millions of people had already labeled that boy a racist. Okay? And that's how viral misinformation works. The accusation races across the country while the correction limps behind it after the reputational destruction is complete. Now, guess what happened? Salmon responded. He filed an enormous defamation lawsuit. He sued the Washington Post for $250 million. He sued CNN for $275 million. And he went out, he sued NBC and some other major companies. Well, let me tell you what happened. CNN and the Washington Post and NBC settled the case. Confidential settlements. Now, they didn't admit they did anything wrong, but they settled those cases. You understand what I'm saying? Somebody got sued. And so the lesson, somebody typed the lesson. The lesson is that racially explosive stories, promoted before the evidence is fully examined against teenagers, right? Calling them nationally or branding them racist, right? They brought some of the most powerful media organizations to the settlement table, and they had to pay. And see, that's the warning in this Nolan Wells case. Asking why Nolan was left behind, that's legitimate. Questioning the timeline, that's legitimate. But publicly declaring that these young men who are identifiable murdered Nolan and dumped his body and destroyed evidence and coordinated lies or received protection from law enforcement is something entirely different. Those are very specific factual allegations, and that's very serious criminal conduct that we're talking about. Okay? So somebody say, be mindful. Be mindful. Be mindful. Now, that being the case, we still talk about Mississippi. Somebody type Mississippi in the chat room. We are still talking about Mississippi. And black people aren't overreacting merely because the possibility of race enters the conversation. Mississippi has earned a level of historical suspicion that can't be dismissed as paranoia simply because other people are uncomfortable discussing it. Okay? In many black people's collective minds, Mississippi is the devil's playground. Okay? Mississippi wasn't merely another southern state that happened to participate in slavery and segregation. Mississippi became one of the central laboratories of the American white supremacy racist system. Shout out to Lobito. And after slavery ended, after slavery was over, Mississippi was first in line to help develop the legal machinery that used throughout the South to strip newly freed black citizens away from their political power. Look, in 1890, the Constitution of Mississippi used poll tax, literary tests, registration barriers, and carefully selected criminal disenfranchisement provisions to suppress black folk from voting. Right? It did it right in their face, pretending like they were in compliance with the 15th Amendment. Mississippi became the first former Confederate state to build this systematic model of disenfranchisement, and the rest of them followed the example of Mississippi. You know, in 1964, when some of y'all was alive, right now, some of y'all was alive, only 6.7% of the people, black people eligible to vote in Mississippi in 1964. Did you know that? Only 6.7% of black people, as many black people as Mississippi. Only 6.7 of them, 6.7% were eligible to vote. That wasn't an accident or the neutral result of apathy. It was the product of law, intimidation, economic retaliation, violence, and government policy. Mississippi's racial order was enforced not only through statutes and elections, but through terror. You understand me? Black people could be beaten, kidnapped, tortured, shot, mutilated, or killed for attempting to vote, organizing workers, challenging segregation, speaking disrespectfully to a white man or a white woman. Hell, even being accused of a white woman, refusing to remain in the place white society assigned them to could get you hurt. The Equal Justice Initiative documented more than 4,000 racial terror lynchings across the 12 southern states between 1877 and 1950. And Mississippi was recorded as having the highest number of all the lynching. And these were not merely secret crimes committed by isolated extremists in the darkness. Many were public acts of social control. It was like a barbecue. It was like a festival. Oh, we're going to lynch one this week. It carried out in front of crowds and community participation. It was just basically official indifference. And we can talk about very specific things like Emmett Till, 14-year-old black boy, came down to visit his people from Chicago, traveled to Mississippi in 1955. The boy was kidnapped, he was tortured, he was murdered, he was dumped in the Tallahatchie River, and after accusation involving some young white girl. Now, his killers were acquitted by an all-white jury and later publicly admitted that they had done it. And they did it and protected by the constitutional prohibition against double jeopardy. You understand? So when black parents hear that a young black man disappeared from his white companions, as the case with Nolan Wells, and it was later recovered from water, they don't need anyone to tell them the history doesn't automatically prove murder. We know that. But they also know why the imaginary, the imagery strikes a nerve that isn't abstract or theoretical or invented. This is Mississippi. All right. In the same year that happened, Medgar Evers was investigating not only Till's murder, but also killings of Reverend George Lee and Lamar Smith and some other black leaders involved in the voter registration. He was shot in Belzoni, Mississippi. You understand? Lamar Smith was murdered in broad daylight on the courthouse lawn in Brookhaven, Mississippi, after helping people vote, black people vote. And witnesses reportedly saw that happen. They saw it happen on the courthouse. Ain't that crazy? But the machinery of justice didn't produce accountability. Medgar Evers understood that crimes against black Mississippians could remain open secret because the local legal system often had no intention of treating black lives as worthy of equal protection. He therefore brought journalists and photographers and national organizations and the federal government into the cases because local silence protected local power. And then Mississippi murdered Medgar Evers himself. Ain't that something? He was out there investigating. They murdered him. June 12, 1963. Some of y'all were alive back then. Y'all was ugly little babies, but y'all was still alive, wasn't you? Tell the truth. All my people who were ugly babies, raise your hand. All the ugly babies, type number 1 in the chat room. If you were an ugly baby, type number 1 in the chat room. You were alive back then in 1963. This man was shot in the back outside his house in Jackson, Mississippi. Okay, as he returned to his home to his wife and children. He had already endured threats because he challenged segregation and investigated racial murders and promoted voter registration and demanded black Mississippians be treated as citizens. His killer, a man named Byron D. De La Beckwith, was tried twice by an all-white jury, twice in 1964. Both trials ended without a conviction. It took more than 30 years before Mississippi finally convicted him in 1994. And that delay is part of the history too. In Mississippi, the question was often not whether people knew who committed the racial violence. They knew who did it. The question was whether the system was willing to punish the person who did it. You understand what I'm saying? In 1964, James Chaney, Andrew Goodman, and Michael Schwerner, a black boy and 2 Jewish boys, they came to Mississippi to help register black voters during the Freedom Summer. And a deputy sheriff arrested them, jailed them, released them that night, and helped place them in the path of the Ku Klux Klan who murdered them. James Chaney, a black Mississippian, was among the 3, was reportedly beaten especially viciously before he was killed. And their body was buried in a dam underneath some earth. Okay, they call it earth and dam, and you have the state and the local institutions denied the knowledge and the nation search for them. They had to send the FBI now. There was a movie that came out many years ago called Mississippi Burning. Okay, they weren't simply the work of random private citizens. Law enforcement participated. This wasn't, it was part of the conspiracy. That's why black people don't always accept the phase law enforcement is investigating. Okay, we don't accept that as the end of the conversation. Mississippi's history contains documented examples in which people wearing badges weren't merely failing to protect black folk, they were participating in the violence against them. Have y'all had enough? I have some more. I'm gonna give you some more. You're gonna get all of this. Where all the people saying I'm race baiter. I got called Boulay earlier. Well, somebody type race baiter in the chat room. Come on, get it in there. I need you to get all that in there. Everybody. He's a coon, he's race baiter, all that. That makes sense. I like it. I need all the conflict. I wrote a 700-page book on conflict. I feed on conflict. I love it. That's all I do. Is figure out ways to fight people, whether we talking about jiu-jitsu, boxing, Shotokan, Kaju Kembo. I love it. I'm here for it. I'm here for the fight. Come fight me. I'm here for you to fight me. Fight me. Be angry. Give me all of that. But I ain't finished yet. Charles Eddie Moore and Henry Hezekiah D. These were two 19-year-old black men abducted in Franklin County, Mississippi, 1964, by the Ku Klux Klan. They were beaten, they were interrogated about supposed black militant activities tied to heavy objects, and they were thrown in the Mississippi River while they were still alive. They found their decomposed bodies during a search for Cheney Goodman. So they were looking for some other, Cheney Goodman and Schwerner, they were looking for some other people, and they found these two dudes. Ain't that something? How many more bodies did they not find? Nevertheless, it was a federal conviction. It didn't come until 2007. This is more than 4 decades later. Again, the lesson isn't that Nolan Wells suffered the same fate. That's not what I'm saying. That's not what I'm saying. We don't know, okay? We don't know. We don't know what happened to Nolan Wells. But again, this is Mississippi. And the lesson is that black people mistrust Mississippi. And it didn't come from the movies or social media or political speeches. It came from generations of black families watching obvious racial crimes go unpunished until evidence disappeared and witnesses died and the public pressure forced institutions to act. Mississippi. Did you know Mississippi also created, goddamn Mississippi. Mississippi created the State Sovereignty Commission. And this was an official state agency established in 1956. Shout out to Spartacus Jackson. So picture this. Brown versus the Board of Education happened. Mississippi said, we're going to establish a Mississippi State Sovereignty Commission. And the whole purpose was to preserve segregation and resist federal civil rights enforcement. You understand me? The commission literally used state power to investigate, monitor, blacklist, and intimidate economically punish black people as civil rights workers, include teachers, ministers, students, and just regular old black people, right? Anybody who supported desegregation, you understand? Your names were sent to the employers, you lost your job, it was sent to school officials, your kids got kicked out, you got sent to local authorities, and police is harassing you all the time. Again, folk lost their jobs, they found themselves unable to work. They couldn't because they attended voter registration meetings associated with civil rights organizations or challenged the racial order. This wasn't the KKK. All right, this wasn't the KKK operating outside the government or anything. This was Mississippi's government using taxpayer money and official records to police black political activity. And when James Meredith attempted to integrate the University of Mississippi in 1962, back when y'all was the ugly baby, somebody type ugly baby in the chat room. Y'all was alive, it's not that long ago. All you ugly babies were alive then. And guess what happened when you tried to integrate the University of Mississippi? They didn't just disagree with him. The state governor, Ross Barnett, openly resisted a federal court order. Federal court be damned. And a violent white mob of Mississippians descended on the campus. Federal marshals were attacked. I mean, they beat up the police. 2 people got killed. A whole bunch of marshals got beat up, including 28 who suffered gunshot wounds. They shot the marshals, man. These are some of these people's granddaddies. Well, anyway, James Mayer that he required federal protection around the clock simply to attend a state university supported by his tax dollars. And that's how deeply Mississippi institutions were committed to keeping one qualified black man out of a white school. I'm not finished. In Holmes County, Mississippi, when black children attempted to integrate a school in Tachula in 1965, the school was burned down twice. Black teachers and their families, they face threats, their employment, their safety, for everything, okay, for associating with civil rights workers. Mississippi's resistance to racial integration and equal rights was not limited to old men in robes riding around in horses in the middle of the night, okay, with crosses, burning crosses. They had they weren't limited to mobs and torches. It operated through school boards, sheriffs, judges, employees. Shout out to Labito. Bankers, landowners, local newspaper, registrars, elected officials. It could deny a loan, terminate a job, refuse protection, manipulate a jury, suppress a vote, or simply look away when violence occurred. And then there's the flag. Somebody typed the flag. They made a big deal about this lady's flag. This is Mississippi. Somebody typed this in. I know I got some people in Mississippi. Be mad. I don't care. That's my ancient home state. That's where my people are from. Mississippi. I heard all the stories. All this is true. Now, this stuff I'm telling you can verify. Mississippi, you know, Mississippi adopted a state flag in 1894. The Confederate War had been over for 30 years. The flag they adopted was the Confederate battle emblem more than 30 years after the Civil War ended, during the same era in which the state was building Jim Crow and stripping black folk of their political power. We did pretty well in Mississippi after Reconstruction. We had people who participated in the Congress and all sorts of stuff. We had money, we had land. And Mississippi said, "No, we're gonna bring that Confederate flag," but they literally put it in the official flag. And it remained Mississippi remained the last state in America whose official flag incorporated the Confederate flag. It didn't require that flag. It didn't retire that flag until the 1960s after the murder of Medgar Evers, and it didn't retire after the Voting Rights Act. It didn't retire after Mississippi burning convictions. It didn't retire when black Mississippians repeatedly explained what that symbol represented to them. When do y'all think Mississippi, how long do y'all think Mississippi flew that flag in courthouses, schools, government offices, and public institutions? When do you think they gave it up? Come on, 5 points for whoever can get the right answer. When did they give up the Confederate flag? When did they give it up? How long ago you think they gave it up? June 2020. That's 6 years ago. They just gave up the Confederate flag. Think about that. And the state legislature finally acted after the murder of George Floyd. It triggered national protests. And only then, 126 years after adopting it, did Mississippi remove the Confederate emblem from its official flag. Think about what that means. You got black children in Mississippi in 2002. You could attend a public school and play sports and salute officials, enter courthouses, and interact with state institutions under a flag containing the emblem of the rebellion launched to preserve slavery, to keep your people enslaved. That child could turn 18 before Mississippi finally decided the symbol should no longer officially represent the state. So when people ask why black Mississippians and black people in general remain very sensitive about racial stuff that goes on in Mississippi, or racial symbolism, or institutional secrecy, and unexplained deaths, or claims that everyone should simply trust the process, you need to remember that Mississippi didn't remove the Confederate flag from the state flag until 6 years ago. Okay? I'm sorry. You need to remember that. Okay? Or 4 years ago. That's not ancient history. There's some high school students alive today who spent most of their childhood under that Confederate flag. You understand what I'm saying? Black people aren't overreaching when we hear about something happening in Mississippi, a possible racism raised in Mississippi involving a dead black teenager like Nolan Wells. We may ultimately be wrong about the facts, but historical memory isn't paranoia. Mississippi trained generations of black families to understand that official explanations could be incomplete, witnesses could remain silent, respected white families could close ranks, local authorities could protect reputations, and justice might not move until outsiders force it to move. So no, we shouldn't demand that black people ignore where this happened, who was present, who controlled the transportation, who returned with Nolan's property, who supplied the explanation, who didn't come home. The proper response isn't hysteria, it's heightened scrutiny, though. It's independent verification and preservation of evidence and refusing to allow friendship and family influence and local status or institutional convenience to substitute for a complete reconstruction of the truth, because this is Mississippi. And Mississippi history gives black people every right to ask whether race affected who's protected and how aggressively the truth is pursued. And until every material question is answered, black people aren't wrong for keeping their eyes open. Now, to all my people in Mississippi in 2020, because I see the people in the chat room, Mississippi now in 2026 is not Mississippi in 1956. That must be acknowledged. But Mississippi's progress is far more recent or uneven and incomplete than many people want to admit. The 1950s racial separation wasn't merely a private preference. It was the law, the culture, and the organizing principle of Southern society. Black and white children attended separate schools. Black citizens were excluded from white public spaces. Interracial marriage was illegal. In 1957, there was a Gallup poll. Only 27% of Southerners approved of ending segregation on buses and trains and public waiting rooms. 64% disapproved. When Gallup first asked about black and white marriage in 1958, only 4% of white folk approved of it. And among white Southerners, the approval was 1%. That damn near the entire white Southern population. Now in 2021, Gallup found that 94% of Americans approved of black and white marriage, including 93% of white adults and 93% of Southerners. Black and white Mississippians now attend school together. They play sports together. They work together. They form friendships. They date. They marry. They raise children together. And the 2026 Gallup Brookings study found that 52% of Americans had dated someone of another race. Approximately 1/4 had a spouse or romantic partner of another race or ethnic background. And 1/3 of adults under 40 were in an interracial relationship. Okay? So there's been some interesting developments. Mississippi has changed. Mississippi hasn't changed so completely that race becomes irrational or inappropriate to consider when a black teenager dies under unexplained circumstances, but it has changed. Okay? Y'all still with me? Now, I have a couple more things to say, but I want to take the opportunity to read these super chats. We only have 8, I'm sorry. And I appreciate the time that you all took. You all are the real MVPs. We got a couple of cash apps. And I appreciate you guys don't owe me anything. As I say all the time, you don't owe me anything. I only ask that if you learn something, I should earn something. But again, if you learn something, I should earn something. But you all don't owe me a thing. I do this because I want to definitely try to do right and leave this place a better place than I found it. And it happens to be at this particular time, I want to bring some reason and rationale to some of this racial animosity that folk are trying to churn up, because that's not going to make any of our lives easier. Shout out to Patricia Hightower and shout out to Greg L. Thank you all so much for the cash apps. I appreciate you guys. You guys are awesome. Thank you so much. Also, Big J, he says, I don't know what nobody says this was definitely a cover up. Plus, how did they just magically find the body in the spot that they already searched a few times? I don't know. But if the body ended up in a churning body of water, it could eventually make its way to shore. It might not have been there the day before. It might have moved. And if they went to check another day, it might be gone. That's how the tide works. I don't know, Big J. I don't have all the answers, and neither do these people on the internet. Okay? That's my whole point. What I suggest we all do is just sit back and scrutinize the investigation, but at least let it unfold. Let's start with an autopsy report. Let's see here. Torrin Jones, love visiting my family in Mississippi. Always a good time. Well, good for you. Good for you. Guess who ain't going to Mississippi? Torrin Jones. Me. I ain't going. But you can go over there if you want to. Rob 103 100 said Macho Man Randy Savage. That's right. Oh yeah. Old Wise 12237. Thank you for the $20. Also, Stanley Cabinets, thank you for the 2231. Thank you for the super chat. Need your history books knowledge. Thank you, Lobito. Thank you so much. Also, 1963 was not long ago for folks talking about the past. Racism is still prevalent. Mississippi has been a history. Mississippi has deep history of that stuff. And yes, I was born in the Magnolia State. Send me your picture. I want to see if you was an ugly baby. I want you to email me your picture. All you Mississippi folk, all you ugly babies, email me your picture. I want to see if you was an ugly baby. I'm going to post you up on my community tab. Anyway, thank you so much, Lobito. I appreciate you. Keep going. I will. And also RS1, thank you for the $10. And again, like I said, you guys don't owe me anything, man. I do this because I care about you. And I want this world to be a better place. And all I'm trying to do is put some truth on these lies, and kind of dissipate it a little bit, because it's the last thing we need. We got to live here. Okay, you already got enough reasons to fight over these Walmart parking spaces. Okay, we don't need to throw race in it. I know how you are. I know my Americans. We fight over Walmart parking spaces. So last thing we need to do is kick. There's too many guns out there for us to be just not liking each other. And people are just capitalizing on the racial animosity for no good reason. At least let the thing play out. Heavenly City 007, thank you so much for that super sticker. Also, Remia, I can't say that. Ari Mia ASB, we're learning, so you're earning. Salute, Uncle Ice. Thank you so much. I appreciate you, fam. And then also we have Dog Cox 3250. Thank you for the super sticker. So we got 13 super chats. Shout out to the 13 people who contributed to the super chat. You all are awesome. Again, thank you. Now, you don't have to contribute to the super chat, but I do expect you all to subscribe to the channel if you hadn't already. If you're learning something, if you support what we're doing over here, this research, and I always try to give you something that you can walk away with, okay, to help create some better understanding amongst all of us. But I certainly would appreciate it if you would take the time to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. That would be awesome and amazing at the same time. And it will help me prove a point that people do want to get good, high quality information. And I think that'll help. That's better for everybody. But check this out. I want to talk specifically to Black people. So I want all the Black people, especially Black boys, what can you learn from this case? And I want to say this very plainly. We still don't know that race caused Nolan Wells' death. Shout out to Jelena Taborn, but we don't know that. Okay, we know he was a young Black man in Mississippi. He was reportedly the only black person amongst his group of white companions, and that he didn't return from a remote boating trip, and that his family believes important portions of his final moments remain unexplained. Now, we don't yet have evidence establishing murder, racial motivation, or a criminal conspiracy, but black parents don't have to wait for proof of racial violence before teaching their children about racial vulnerability, situational awareness, friendship, and survival. Now, the first lesson, I want y'all to take careful notes. Black boys, the first lesson is this: don't confuse social acceptance with personal protection. You can go to school with somebody, you can play football or baseball or basketball. You see? Y'all can travel together, y'all party together, you laugh together. You can call one another friends. But none of that proves the people around you can be trusted with your life. Friendship isn't tested while the music is playing and everybody's having fun. Friendship is tested when something goes wrong, or who stays beside you when the police show up, and who calls your mama, who risks punishments to save you, who tells the complete truth when the truth is going to expose their alcohol and drug use or their reckless boating or a fight or negligence or some kind of misconduct. Integration may place black children in the same classroom and homes and parties and social circles as everybody else. It doesn't automatically guarantee equal loyalty, protection, sacrifice, or urgency when a black child is endangered. Look here, being invited to somebody's boat party or house party or pool party doesn't make you his brother or sister. Being welcomed into their home doesn't make you family. Being called bro doesn't just automatically establish loyalty. Every invitation isn't evidence of friendship. Every social circle isn't a safety network. That doesn't mean black boys should avoid having non-black friends or avoid having white friends or presume that every white person or non-black person is dangerous. That would be irrational. It would be unfair. And would be contrary to my own life. I form meaningful relationships across race, religion, nationality, cultural class, and political belief. A black friend can betray you. A white friend can save your life, or vice versa. The standard is not color alone. The standard is conduct. Race may affect how people are perceived, but character still has to be judged individually. The second lesson is that being the only black person in an isolated environment can create a serious vulnerability and a serious evidence problem. When you're the only black person on a boat, on an island or rural property or a hunting trip or a lake or a fraternity outing or a private party and something happens to your black behind, everybody who returns may share parents, lawyers, schools, neighborhoods, reputations, and common interest in protecting themselves and one another. And your family, more likely than not, is going to be left outside that circle trying to reconstruct your family out, your final hours, and from people whose interests are interconnected. They know each other. They live in the same neighborhood. Now, that doesn't prove racism or conspiracy. What it means, you need to create your own independent record before you go. Send your parents the names of the people you were with. Share the destination, the marina, the address, the boat owners, the name, the vehicle information, and expect the time you return. Stop keeping everything so damn secret. Everything you did, your parents have already done. You think your mom, ask your mama about Freaknik. Your mama been there. She been on every boat in Miami from the 1990s and the early 2000s. Your mama knows all that. You hiding stuff from your parents like you doing something special, like you ain't come from us, like we don't know, like we ain't. How you think you got here? Turn on your location sharing. photograph the license plate, the boat registration, the dock house, or the gathering place. Establish a check-in time. Create a family code word that means call me or come get me or contact the police. Black parents, you need to stop accepting I'm going out with my friends. I'm grown. Like that's sufficient information when your child is traveling somewhere remote. I learned the importance of knowing where you are while growing up in South Central LA. This is during a period of intense gang violence, man. Knowing why I was meant more than recognize. Look, man, let me tell y'all something. Y'all don't understand. I suffer from post-traumatic stress right now because of what I had to deal with as a young man growing up in LA. See, knowing where I was meant more than recognizing the street name. I had to understand which neighborhood I was entering, who controlled that area, who was set tripping on who was beefing with who. I needed to know who I was with, where they were from, where their mama was from, where their I need what dangers existed and how I intended to leave. My mama taught me she couldn't always physically be present to protect me. She said that I can't be with you all the time. You have to be able to recognize trouble before it reached you. And you need to be able to tell responsible people when danger was developing. And never assume I was safe because everybody appeared friendly. Everybody smiling in your goddamn face is not your friend. And that principle applies far beyond South Central Los Angeles. Knowing where you are means understanding the geography, the history, transportation, power relationships, and people around you. Nolan was in Mississippi. This black teenage boy was in Mississippi on a remote island, accessible only by boat. And we know Mississippi's history. Look, it didn't prove anyone harmed him because of race. But that environment still demanded awareness, especially if you're a black boy. Black boys must understand that survival begins before the emergency. You can't protect yourself from circumstances you refuse to examine. Number 3, third lesson is never surrender complete control of your ability to leave. I just had a conversation with my son recently. I bought him this nice Mercedes-Benz, and he go around, he got a little business going on, and he got some sort of website, construction website or something like that. I just told him, son, I bought you that nice car and your friend come pick you up. That does not seem safe to me because you've eliminated your ability to leave when you want to. You keep and again, just generally speaking, these are lessons I learned in the streets. You keep your telephone, ladies, gentlemen, black, white, whatever. You keep your telephone, your identification, your keys, your money, your medication, your emergency contact under your control. He should have took that plastic bag and them keys and put him in put in his own little plastic bag. I used to put mine in my shorts. When I would go on those little excursions to the Caribbean, now let me get my stuff. I'm gonna put it in my shorts. Get my little plastic bag with a little duct tape on it. You see what I'm saying? I'm gonna keep my stuff with me. If the water safety requires securing those belongings, know exactly who has them and how you're getting back to them. A phone with a weak service is still more useful than no phone at all. It may retain GPS data and reconnect later. You can still summon emergency assistance. You can document an incident with a picture or help someone locate you. Don't voluntarily remain on a damn island, boat, farm, lake house, or some unfamiliar property without your phone or a verified ride or someone who you trust knows your plan. In my book, I always teach, always keep your strong hand free. Y'all need to get my book. I'm trying to tell you, if you drop it in ChatGPT, it'll give you every answer that I would give you. Isn't that something? You always keep your strong hand free. Now that's a shooter. That's some shooter lingo. All my shooters in here, all my 2A people. When you walk into your car at night, you might have your briefcase in one end, but you keep that strong hand free. That hand you pull that, gotcha. Thought I wasn't ready. Stay ready. Keep your strong hand free. That doesn't mean living frightened and hostile or suspicious of everybody. It means friendship, love, generosity, and kindness should never require you to make yourself completely defenseless. Keep your heart open, but maintain control over your transportation, communication, judgment, and ability to leave. Don't place your entire safety and version of events in the hands of a group whose loyalty has never been tested. Fourth lesson to Black boys. Listen to me. I'm going to save your life. You need to become comfortable leaving environments that suddenly feel wrong. Somebody type "feel wrong" in the chat room. You don't have to remain at a party to prove you're cool. You don't have to win every damn argument. You don't have to accept a drink from somebody you barely know. And you don't have to participate in their bull crap if you don't want to play them games. You know, white people be playing some weird ass games. You don't have to participate in that. You don't even have to enter the water because everybody else is doing it. You don't have to stay around people who've been intoxicated or hostile or secretive or reckless or aggressive. Pride kills people. Social pressure kills people. The fear of looking scared can trap a young man inside circumstances from which he cannot escape. Call your mama, call your daddy, call the Uber, call the police, put on a life jacket, make some noise, leave the party. Be embarrassed and be alive. Fifth lesson is that Black children need water competence, not merely the ability to move around in a swimming pool. I'm talking about open water is different. Currents, waves, darkness, distance, exhaustion, alcohol, panic, boat traffic, and changing weather. That can overpower athletes and experienced swimmers alike. Every Black child should learn how to swim, how to float, how to tread water, how to use a life jacket, how to respond to a rip current, how to survive in open water. Athletic ability isn't a substitute for water safety and life jackets. And this I think is just non-negotiable. Sixth lesson concerns the obligations of friendship. Friends don't merely avoid personally harming you. Friendship creates an affirmative responsibility to act when you are in danger. If your friend is too intoxicated to protect himself, you protect your friend. If your friend tries to drive, you take your friend's keys. If your friend is preparing to fight, you stop him if you can. If your friend enters dangerous water, you contact somebody capable of rescuing him. If your friend disappears, you don't wait until the morning to get help. You call your friend's phone. You call your friend's family. You notify the law enforcement and the Coast Guard that your friend is missing. You provide your friend's exact last known location. You describe what your friend was wearing, who your friend was with, what he had consumed, and whether anything unusual occurred to your friend. You don't delay because you're afraid your parents will discover the alcohol y'all had on the boat and the boat owner may get in trouble and somebody has some drugs. You know what they be doing in the parties. A real friend will rather be grounded, arrested, suspended, or sued, or embarrassed, or cursed out, but his friend is still alive. You see? When my best friend Achilles disappeared, his mama called me because she hadn't heard from her son. I called that I called his phone. Where you at? Left a message. I contacted his sisters. I got all the information on his last known. I mean, I just call a private investigator. I didn't just assume because my friend didn't show up. You see? I didn't assume he was just eventually going to show up. I treated his unexplained absence seriously because he was my friend. Now, tragically, my friend was murdered by some young black men. They shot him in the heart, they robbed him, and they left him in the field. They tried to burn him up to hide the body. That was 2012. After he died, I questioned everything. I wondered, hey, whether I should have, could I have been there for him? I went to the Dominican Republic. I was hanging out, Maybe I should have met him in Miami and hung out down there, None of that is rational. You see? Nothing I can do about that. But see, as a real friend, you examine every missed call, every opportunity to intervene, and that experience taught me what friendship requires. And it also taught me something else. You don't call everybody friend. Not everybody's your friend. Because that puts an obligation on you and it puts an obligation on them. But be mindful of that. Now, I'm almost finished. 7th lesson. Are y'all taking notes? See, friendship requires truth after the crisis. What does that mean? Loyalty doesn't mean deleting messages and changing the story and destroying evidence of protecting somebody's parents' reputation or career. None of those things have been established in this Nolan Wells case. Shout out to C. Jones. None of that, I'm not saying that. None of those things, and we shouldn't claim they have without evidence, but the principle is universal. When something terrible happens to your friend, his or her family has a right to the truth. It's more important than your desire to avoid the consequences of being blamed. Real friends tell the truth, even when the truth makes them look bad. It makes them look careless or frightened or intoxicated or selfish or irresponsible or wrong. That's friendship. I'm not saying help somebody rob a bank, help them escape. That's not what I'm saying. Y'all are crazy in the chat room. No. I'm not saying help them escape accountability. Friendship means protecting the truth because the family of the person you call your friend shouldn't have to beg strangers to learn what happened to their family member. 8th lesson. Black parents, you need to mobilize immediately when your child is missing. Don't wait for friends to figure it out. Don't allow anyone to convince you that your child is probably sleeping somewhere or eventually will return. When the behavior is out of character, report the child missing. Contact the law. Contact the Coast Guard. Hell, when water is involved, you need to contact the hospitals, the marinas, the park authorities. You need to get you an attorney. You need to get with an investigator, local media. Write down every name and every time and every statement and every phone number you can remember. Black families should establish emergency networks before tragedy happens. Know which attorneys and journalists and private investigators, search organizations, and elected officials. Kevin Samuels' family contacted me. Everything you know about Kevin Samuels that they were trying to lie on that man after he died, all of those lies were disputed by me. Little old me. Because his mama contacted me. Because she wasn't in a position to sit up here and fight with y'all. But that's all I do. I love fighting with the internet. I beat the internet 2 weeks straight. in the Kevin. I'm undefeated against the internet. The internet hates me. I sued some people. Uncle D is ruthless. You know I done sued the people in the comment section before? Y'all think y'all can get away with the lawsuit? That's me. That's why people contact me. I'm the lawyer that cleans up other lawyers' messes. But bottom line is, all this information I'm giving you, the journalist, the private investigator, the search organization, a good lawyer can link you in with those people. They'll tell you how to preserve digital evidence and request police reports and dispatch recordings and get the surveillance footage and send out spoilage letters to make sure evidence doesn't disappear. Black families shouldn't have to build an entire emergency infrastructure while they're in shock. That's what I'm saying. Somebody said petty. That's right. I am very petty. Now, the ninth lesson, I'm not going to hold y'all here all day. I know y'all have things to do. Ninth lesson is that Black people must practice disciplined vigilance. Don't allow accusations of race baiting to silence legitimate questions. Asking why Nolan was left behind isn't race baiting. Asking who possessed his belonging isn't race baiting. Asking, in other words, why his phone and keys weren't, that's not race baiting. Asking when he was reported missing, whether every witness was interviewed, and why the family requested an independent autopsy, that's not race baiting. Race shouldn't be manufactured where the evidence doesn't support it, but it shouldn't be removed in advance because its possibility makes the other people uncomfortable. You understand? That's balance. That's fair and balanced. Now, at the same time, justifiable distrust can't become reckless accusations. We damage our own credibility when we circulate altered videos. We falsely identify people. We treat anonymous posts as witness testimonies or declare murder before the forensic evidence is complete. You understand? That's why I didn't get on here and just start saying crazy things like a lot of these other people. I care about my reputation. I live and die by my reputation. I eat and survive by my reputation. That's why I'm not going to say anything other than we don't know. Somebody type we don't know in the chat room. We don't know. Now, finally, Black boys, you got to understand you are valuable enough to plan for your survival. See, because too often you have young Black men that taught courage without caution. You taught to be tough and toughness without an emergency plan. You taught loyalty without boundaries. Uncle D believes in boundaries. I'm a heavy believer in boundaries. There's people that can't come to my house because of boundaries. You can come up here and get that ring. That's all you're going to get is that ring. Once I find out it's you, somebody type in the chat room. Boundaries. Calling your mama is not weakness. Calling your daddy is not snitching. Leaving a dangerous environment is not cowardice. Wearing a life jacket does not make you look like a sissy or a punk. And refusing to become intoxicated around people that you don't trust, that's not antisocial. Sharing your location is not childish. Keeping control of your phone and your transportation is not paranoia. The lesson isn't that Black boys should live afraid of white people or anybody. I don't live afraid. I ain't scared of nothing. When it's time to go, it's time to go, baby. I'll see y'all on the ancestral plane. I'm gonna be up there chopping it up, hanging out with my friends, smoking cigars and drinking champagne on the ancestral plane with all those friends that I told you about. Because everybody that I mentioned in here, they all passed away. All my friends are gone. All my good friends that I grew up with, they're all dead. Jamal, Josue, Akili, all my good friends, the ones that I would consider, all of them are dead. Unfortunately, they have all died by gunshots, by other Black men. Or in the case of Josue Garcia, who I played football with, he got shot. He's Latino. He got shot by some Mexican gangsters. You understand what I'm saying? So I ain't afraid of nothing. In fact, and I hate to say, my family hates when I talk like this. I prepare them every day for my departure. Not that I don't want to live a long time and keep screaming at y'all on the internet, but that's why my motivation is different. I'm not here for the money. I'm here for the legacy. You understand? I will see y'all on the ancestral plane. You dig? That's where I'm at. But again, don't be afraid. That's not what I'm trying to get you to do. The lesson is that you should never place your entire safety, transportation, and communication and version of events in the hands of other people, whether they're white, black, Hispanic, whether you're a man, a woman, a girl, but you didn't do that. Because they'll protect themselves before they protect you. But other than that, enjoy your life. Form friendships across racial lines. Travels, swim, boat, hell, bungee jump if that's what you like to do. You got some white friends? Keep an eye on their ass. What you doing? What are you doing, Tom? Right? Go to their parties. All right? Leave the cocaine alone, but enjoy the party. They got good food. You see? Laugh, celebrate, but carry awareness with you. Know where you are. Know who you're with. Know how you leaving. This is for the boys and the girls. Keep your people informed. Let them know, yeah, where you at? Yeah, man, I met this chick, man. What's her name? Her name is Misty. You Misty? I thought you was dating Keisha. No, I got a chick named Misty. No, when you hanging out with Misty or Megan or whatever, okay? When you hanging out with them, let your people know. Maintain control over your lifeline. Friendship isn't proved by who invites you along. It's proved by who refuses to leave you behind. And the code should be simple. We came together. We account for one another. We protect one another. We tell the truth, and nobody gets left behind. That's a friend. That's a friend. I miss my friends. I do. You're lucky if you get a friend. I hope you all take the opportunity to purchase my books. You can get them online at Amazon. There are rules to live by, how to maintain peace of mind and happiness in a conflicted world. Just look up Dennis Spurling on Amazon and they will be right there. Other than that, thank you all so much. My condolences to the Nolan Wells family. I hope that the truth comes out, and I appreciate you all. Thank you for the time. And I'm humbly appreciative of the time you spent with me here today. God bless you all. And as I always say at this time, I am out.
Dennis Spurling Podcast. Hit the like button, subscribe.